Yeah.
I like that. That's a good transition. Jacob, you're muted.
Oh no. There we go.
Hello, everybody. Those pesky raccoons.
Hello, everybody.
They
That
took
was
command. They mutinied, and it wasn't pretty.
they did. They did.
Mm-mm.
That was the movie crossover we never knew we wanted.
I beg to differ. I knew I wanted that always.
Yes.
Meth raccoons and Master and Commander.
Master and Raccoon Mander.
Mm.
So, Shieldwall, how's it going, man?
Doing good. Excited to talk about this movie. This is one of my favorite movies. Yeah, pretty much of all time. It's in like my top 5 for sure. And it was sadly it kind of got buried the year it came out because so many other movies came out that year.
Yeah,
We haven't had a year like 2003 in like the last 6 years.
Yeah,
of
didn't it
movies.
come out the same year as Return of the King?
It did. Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, Last Samurai, Kill Bill Volume 1, uh, Fast and Furious like 6 or something, whatever that was. Just a whole plethora of movies that came out to distract you from this. Also, when this came out, I think I might have been a little busy with the second Gulf War. When that happened, so
You big puss.
yeah, I might have not been at home for that, but yeah, but it's a great movie, and it falls into my my movie scale of will watch again all the time, repeatedly, if I see it on or whatever. So it's definitely a watch again.
Same
Yeah.
here. And the return of the Roman. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. And
Back.
thank you for having me back. Yeah, you hit me up a couple days ago about this. I'm like, oh, I can't not do Master and Commander. Must find ways to appease Mrs. of the Empire. So I bought her a stack of gold today, and I pushed it in front of her, and I was like, honey, can I be on the show tonight? And she's like, oh, Romy, all right. I like gold. Gold's nice. All right, go ahead and be on the show. So here I am.
That's a
Awesome.
good march.
Glad you could come. Yeah.
That's it's
Also-
funny. It's funny.
Also, Roman can give us eyewitness accounts of what really happened.
Heyo.
It's true. I was there. It was a fine time. Men of Steel, Decks of Wood,
French.
the freaking frogs, and no raccoons. Oddly enough.
Yes.
Yeah. Raccoons weren't invented until like 2005.
No, they're fairly new. People think they're old, but they're not.
No. We crossbred squirrels with pandas and garbage.
Well, Mags, welcome back.
Hi, Jacob. Thank you for welcoming me back here and talking about this movie. When you first asked me to come on for Master and Commander, I'm like, I'm a girl talking about a naval, all guy type movie, and but I love this type of movie. I grew up as a tomboy with 2 older brothers. My dad was in the Navy, and so was very much a history buff about naval battles, even battles in general. Gosh, you should see the books that he has. So this is the type of movie that I grew up with. As I was telling backstage, this movie came out when I was in 8th grade. But
Stop that immediately.
Rowan,
I know.
I'm not dating you. I'm dating myself. Stop it.
If we were dating, there'd be a lot of problems, man, because of Mrs. of the Empire. Sorry, I'm here all
But
week.
when I saw this, finally, it was of course on DVD. It was during my high school years, and fell in love with it immediately. And every time I watch this movie, because I've watched it several times, I've seen that post going around. What's a movie that you've seen 10 times? I'm like, well, first of all, that's a huge list. But Master and Commander is definitely one of them on that list. And every time I watch it, it ages like fine wine. There's no age to it. It still has a youthful soul that just just doesn't age. It's so good,
Yeah.
and it doesn't. It's the scenery, the sets, the acting, everything about it. It's just it draws you in, and even though you already know the outcome, it doesn't even matter. You're still on the edge of your seat.
Right.
I'm so happy to be talking about this movie with everybody tonight. So thank you, Jacob.
Yep, you're welcome. And welcome to the Pumpkin King, the Gourd.
Ahoy! You know, I have to
Oh,
say,
I'm
listening
sorry,
to okay,
the Gourd,
shh.
the Gourd Captain, the Gourd Captain.
That's true.
Sorry.
Captain. I have to say, after hearing Shieldwall say it's one of his favorites, you know, Roman here being a Navyman, you know, Magitek's connection to us, I'm curious what the heck compelled Jacob to ask me on to this show, but I'm grateful all the same because that gave me an excuse to watch this movie that I embarrassingly had not rewatched in, gosh, borderline 2 decades, and I now deserve to be strapped up and flogged for having done that because this is an incredible movie. It was like seeing it again for the first time, and I was like, dang, this is phenomenal. This is just such an incredible film, and I'm excited to, you know, talk about, you know, contribute whatever I can, but mostly just to listen to people who know it better than I do because I'm itching to watch it again, to be honest.
Roman, take Gourd below and strap him in irons.
I don't wanna. No, nothing good happens then.
Joke's on you. Gorge don't have hands.
He needs to have 20 lashes, right? Isn't that what they did back then?
Well, actually, that was a lot. If you got 20 lashes, you may not make it out of that.
That's painful.
The flogging thing that was taken seriously. If you were having
Oh, yeah.
someone flogged, it was not taken lightly, but it did. I mean, you have to look at the way the crews were composed back then. Your officer corps was your officer corps, but your enlisted ranks, that was quite a rabble, as they said.
Yeah.
Some were career seamen, others were just, you know, trying to get away from something, and so they were just kind of there, and so you needed discipline, especially back then. I mean, it's not like discipline is unnecessary now, but back in the day, discipline was absolutely a must to keep your ship afloat. It wasn't just, engaging the enemy. It was day-to-day operations. Discipline falls apart, you are dead in the water, and then your crew mutinies, and then now you're pirate food.
Well,
Not
that's
good stuff.
because they are literally gone months on end. And so if they didn't have
No. It was years, Mag. They were
Yes.
gone for years. We
Well,
were
I'm
gone for
trying-
months,
I'm trying to
sometimes
look-
longer, but
Communication,
back in the day, they were gone for years.
yes, and so they
communication,
needed to rely on
They
each other
were
for
an
that stuff.
island to themselves.
Yep.
Well, just
And
try to
that's-
think of me as like the Paul Bettany character of the panel who doesn't know enough. I'm
Actually,
just the one who will
Gourd
tell
King,
you
we
about the
would
Galapagos.
probably eat you. I'm not kidding. You would have
Oh,
been eaten, I
no.
would say, within the first 4 months.
Yeah, I mean,
Little bit.
I make
You
a
can't
heck
let
of a
the
pie,
pumpkin go
and
bad.
I don't mean I
was
bake
gonna
it.
say maybe some pumpkin pie or pumpkin spice cookies.
Little
would be good.
crushed up
Oh,
hardtack
baby.
and
Oh,
some
no.
rum.
So
Just
You know-
don't pretend I'm a latte. That pumpkin spice thing is a bunch of BS. There is
I said-
no pumpkin
I
whatsoever
said
in
pumpkin spice cookies, Gourd. Leave it
Pumpkin
alone.
spice is a myth. It's a myth. Just like raccoons before
keep in mind,
2005.
What about
pumpkin
pumpkin
spice
bread?
Gourd King.
That's okay.
Before we really dig
If
into
I-
it,
if
let
I
me-
die as a
let's
fine
say
bread, I'm
hello to
okay.
the chat real quick. So first up, we got the Untamed Mando. Well, hello there.
Mando.
Hope you're having a good one.
She had a fine
Indeed.
stream the other day talking Narnia.
Yeah, that was great. That was a good show. Hey, Gadfly, what's up? What's going on? Cajun Corey, hello. And there's Arkazul, man. Hey, what's going on?
Ark.
Yeah, nice to see you, Arkansas.
Good to
Everybody
see
loves
you.
Hey,
Ark.
Art.
There's Subtle.
Or as he's known it, his
Fifth
Chinese
Element
counterpart,
Man.
subtitled even.
He- Oh no, that's so much in one freaking post. Subtle. That's a lot. It hurts.
Don't
It hurts right
forget
here.
Journey.
You're hurting your friend. Subtle.
Don't forget Journey. Yeah. Gotta get that in there too. Okay, who else we got here? There's Jana. Hey, Jana.
Jana, our favorite mama.
think that's it.
And one day, Jana, I will get to my nursing duties.
Free-
I swear to
I see
God.
Beard of Liberty there too.
Yeah, we
Ah,
got Zombie Box.
the beard, the
reviews.
great
Oh,
beard.
yeah.
CDR.
Had a chat.
Yep, Zax is in the house.
Zax.
Can Man, 1984. Beard of Liberty.
I think that's a new person on here. Welcome.
Netflix Mando.
What is Netflix Mando? Is Netflix Mando
oh,
like
that's-
Mando
that's-
but
I
not
think
Mando?
Is that Trey? What's up, Trey?
Has
What's going on?
has
Hey,
Mando been
Trey.
trained and put on Netflix?
I,
no.
So Mando is now black. I'll accept it.
We get Angry Canadian. I don't know
Hey,
what
Hey,
time
Canadian.
he's.
I know.
Yeah.
What is
kinda-
it, like 2:00 in the morning in Japan? I don't even know what time it is. In
Hold on,
Japan.
I got it
It's
on
like
my
a
phone right
completely
here.
different.
It depends on
freaking
which part of Canada
phase
you're
of
in.
reality.
Yes.
It's 0930 there in
Well, that's
Tokyo.
not so bad. Shouldn't you be at work?
Maybe he is at work.
Hey.
Even better.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. Someone else popped in here.
Wait,
Copa.
is
Copa.
Copa.
Copa, my paisan.
Everybody's in the chat.
Yeah,
All the peeps are here. All the good
All the
people.
peeps.
great.
The whole
Well,
crew.
Yeah, thanks for being here, everybody.
Oh.
Appreciate that.
So Roman, what knots can you tie?
The square. I can't tie any knots, man.
They didn't
I
make
wasn't a
that wasn't
bosun's
part of
mate.
basic training.
Here's-
They didn't make you.
Here's the
learn
deal.
all that?
In aviation, you know what we don't care about?
Oh yeah,
Knots.
not you
Not
don't
our
care about
bag,
anything
Davey. I'm
nautical. Yeah,
I'm not boat navy.
Not even Don knots? The heck?
I'm
No.
looking at you through the bathroom window. No,
Yeah.
not down knots.
yeah, that is true. Yeah, you got to remember that Roman was on the aviation side, so
Yes.
it's completely different.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So
Alrighty.
this movie just starts off. I love how this movie starts too. It's just
Yes. Oh God, it's so
Everything.
good.
No,
Nice.
they roll right in. It's
It
It's
immediately
just beautiful.
establishes itself. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's it struck
Well,
me.
no,
just
and you
the
don't-
simple
and you
text
know-
is
you
like,
know-
wow, we know a lot now.
and you don't need anything else. Yeah, they throw it at you, and you're just in, and it's perfect. 197 souls. That's still a big ship of its age.
yeah,
It is 28 guns is respectable, but it's not a ship of the line by any means.
Mm.
So it doesn't have, it's not like a 3-decker or anything like that. This thing is like a
To
medium
Captain
kind of.
J. Aubrey. Intercept French privateer Akion. En route to Pacific, intent on carrying the war into those waters. Sink, burn, or take her as a prize.
And you all know what Acheron, or as the French say, Acheron. Y'all know what that means, right? Y'all know the reference to that.
It's a place in Greece or something, isn't it?
Well, it's a reference to, I believe, Greek mythology. It's one of the
Right,
lakes of
yeah.
fire. It's basically hell, and that's intentional. But
yeah.
I thought that was really
I thought
cool.
it had something to do with Lizzo, so now I'm disappointed.
The spelling's a little different. It's like ASSERON. Yeah.
So
My
When
bad.
I first saw this
got a
scene
big
here,
back
I was
end.
Like, what are those? What is that swinging back and forth? It's like, oh, those are butts. That's a bunch of butts.
yeah, that's how the cruise up.
This is the ship's bowls.
One interesting thing about this movie, if you saw that order that the captain received, imagine you're in
Oh God,
Parliament,
yeah. And how long
Parliament
that
in England, right? And you give this guy this order. He's basically on his own making his own decisions. There's no way to do any real-time communication. Nowadays, you got guys in like situation rooms with actual real-time cameras on their head making, don't tell them to turn left, that kind of stuff. This was, you sent things out there
Good
and then
Lord.
you had to deal with the ramifications 6 months or a year later. Like
Mm.
the Battle of New Orleans in the War of 1812, a peace treaty had already been signed when the battle had been fought. They just hadn't got
Oops.
word yet that the
Wow.
war was over when it happened. So that's just,
To be
So
fair,
he's-
even in modern naval communications, sometimes things don't flow well, and you just have to make the best decision you can. You've asked Home Guard for info, but for whatever reason, comms are not readily coming, or it's like a holiday back home, but on the boat it's not a holiday, and you have a crisis situation you have to deal with. These guys were dealing with at best weeks out communication. So they had to rely on their skippers to make
Right. And that was the point
really, really hard decisions.
where I was going is that once he got those orders, he was basically on his own. So he was representing England, the Parliament, the King, all of that, all wrapped into one on his shoulders and his shoulders alone, because there was no one else out there for him to make decisions with. So keep that in mind when he is trying to fight the Acheron. It basically no one else knows what they're doing. They're just out there.
Yeah.
And they're on their own.
And this, I love this, the sudden death.
Jean-Claude Van Damme fans.
One of their guns named.
Yeah.
No, and that's not uncommon.
Do they still do this today?
Yeah, well, not. I mean, there aren't really canon anymore. But when like on my helicopters, when we went out to sea, my helicopters had names. And when we were doing missions somewhere near Africa, we painted pirate flags on our stabs. That's the big thing on the back of the helicopter that goes up and down. For those of you who don't know what a stab is, we painted pirate flags on the back of those because we were doing pirate hunting.
Cool.
So yeah, we do take that kind of pride in our killing products.
Nice.
Yep. Also, if you notice, the font on there is reminds me of Harry Potter a little bit.
Yeah.
Like very Harry Potterish.
Harry Potter and the sudden Deathly Hollows.
Yeah, because the Harry Potter motif of like Diagon Alley is taken directly from around this time period.
Oh, cool.
And another thing too, you don't just have fighters on this ship. You have craftsmen. If you need repairs done, they had to make things to repair. So
the carpenter's mate was a really high paid position. And then they had sailmakers and all that kind of stuff. And like Roman was alluding to before with the punishment portion of it. So you had different levels of crew, and your lowest level was what they called landsmen, which were basically just people they brought on board that didn't have any real sailing skill, but they were bodies you could use to winch things up and swab the deck and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of times, especially during this time, which is why America went to war in the 1812, was impressment of so they would have press gangs go around and be like, hey, you're in the Navy now, and then throw you on the boat.
I don't want to be in the Navy now.
Yep, exactly.
Well, you're in the Navy now.
But so they had that lower level of people that didn't even want to be there. So that's why discipline had to be so strict. Then as you went up in rank as far as able-bodied seamen, those were people that knew how to sail. Then you had your topsmen the people that really knew how to climb up and handle the sails. So they were more important. It was almost like being a forklift certified person these days. In the hierarchy of like how things go.
Yeah, and they were. I mean, and largely they were in. If you were really good at your job, you were probably also pretty old, being a relative term during the time.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't a young man. Oh, it's Pippin.
Yeah. He didn't. He had a hard life as a hobbit, and he decided to
join the service.
Like Frodo, he couldn't come back.
You know, it's really funny because of the Lord of the Rings movies. This is why my family and I went. Well, first of all, my dad wanted to see this anyway, but we wanted to see this movie because he was in it from the Lord of the Rings movies.
Really?
Because it's like, oh, we recognize that. I mean, of course, we recognized, Russell Crowe, of course, but like, oh, there's somebody else we recognize and we like, let's watch this movie. That's what happened back in the day when
it's so funny how young he looks in comparison to his actual age at the time, because he was well into his 30s and he looks like a kid.
It's funny though. Every time I see this movie, I'm always surprised to see him there.
Yeah.
It catches me off guard every single time I see him. I'm like, oh, it's Pippin.
Hey, what's up, Blair?
Speaking of Harry Potter, that poor guy that you showed who becomes kind of the Jonah of the crew, I'm pretty sure he's in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I think he's the Stan Shunpike on the night bus. I think that's him.
It might be. So they're showing like when we enter into this, they're showing like the crew doing their stuff.
5 raccoons in the yard.
No.
Yikes.
The thing about
don't shoot.
The midshipmen. So like Pippin's character, he's handling the ship steering, so he would have been a more advanced rank crew person to be able to be trusted with that. He just wouldn't
Yes.
be just some random guy. Now this guy here, he's one of the midshipmen. But as you'll see in the movie, he's rather old for being one. Whereas
Yep.
a lot of people that held this rank were like the little blonde-headed kid. He's 12.
Yeah.
Imagine you're
Yeah.
this guy behind him. This
Mhm.
guy's what, 50s, 60s maybe? He's been
No,
at
he's
sea.
not that old.
The guy, no, the guy, the
Guy
old
behind
guy.
him?
Oh, that
Yeah,
guy.
with the beard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. I was
Yeah,
like, what are you doing?
that guy's ancient. I mean, who knows? Hard life. He could be 45, whatever. But he's not 30. This dude is not 30 or 35. He's older than that. He's been at sea his entire life, and
So, go ahead. Go
That
ahead.
dude sees
so-
some stuff.
Probably since like 12 or 13 years old.
but my point is that he has to take orders from this little kid.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like these two are little, but because of their upbringing, their birth, possibly their
Yeah,
education.
the little blonde kid is a lord.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Well, that's why he is where he. I mean, remember, it's a whole different ball game. But what is important to note is the midshipmen don't actually have their commission yet. They're not a lieutenant,
Mhm.
which is when they actually hold no kidding rank. You have the midshipmen, which are in modern Navy. These are the kids who are going through the academy and getting training. Now, back then, they had like basics, seamanship training, and then they throw you on a boat, and that's where you got your training. But getting thrown on a boat during the Napoleonic War meant you're going to war, and now you're in charge of people. So it's a whole different ball game back then to now.
yeah.
Well,
So
they
just
didn't
as a
have
comparison.
child labor laws or expectations, so they had kids as young as like 8 running around like as powder monkeys, carrying bags of powder from the powder magazine up to the gun crews, and
Those are quick.
cabin boys. Yeah, they were small and quick, so they could run between all this stuff. So yeah, it wasn't unusual to have young men like that on a ship. But all these midshipmen are getting on the job training basically.
Right.
Yep.
And can I just say the kids in this movie, their acting is fantastic.
Oh yes.
They're
So good.
excellent. As Peter Weir's direction is amazing, even without that element. But just that added element just makes me respect his direction all the more.
Yeah. So they've seen or heard a bell. So he's and they're in a fog bank, so it's hard to see what's going on. But I love this. It doesn't outright show the ship. It just shows like a shadow, and even the audience is like, did you see something? So
You're starting to
really
question your own
cool.
vision yourself. Like, did you actually see
Right.
something? And then the way it just comes out of this, it is so the way they almost. I love this movie so much in that they made the ships almost their own individual, unique characters too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was like a David versus Goliath, and it's like you're even protective of the ship, like because that is a character, and so is the Acheron. So it's
And here's the thing about this guy. He thought he saw something, right? And he's consulting with the other midshipmen, and they're deciding, are we going to beat the quarters? Because if you call a general quarters, that's a big deal. A lot of stuff is going to stop happening. People are going to so if you're mistaken and it's not a thing, you're going to not. The captain might chew you out or whatever.
Yes, you lose credibility with the captain
Right.
for making a bad call.
I've actually been in, I mean, it wasn't like a combat situation, but where you have to make these calls like, there's a decision that I have to make. Do I call the group commander and let them know that this happened over weekend? Like I had weekend duty. I was in charge for the weekend. Do I call the officer in charge? Do I call and let them know, hey, this aircraft had this problem or whatever, or this person had this issue? Some things are cut and dry. Like, hey, this guy got in some kind of accident and had to go to the hospital. That's a definite call. But if it's something else like, ooh, we're not going to get the part done in time or whatever, you got to kind of weigh, do I bother them with this or not? But of course they're in a situation where if they're at war, then obviously this guy makes the call for him because the other guy is so much older. I think he's a senior midshipman, if there is such a thing. So
there's definite within the midshipman ranks.
But this guy's indecisive, so the other guy says, we shall beat the quarters. But basically making it look like he told him to do it. so in a way, he's looking out for his superior, trying to, you know what I mean? So he doesn't lose face with the crew.
Without undermining his authority.
Right, undermining his authority, exactly.
Well, it's also a character moment for this guy because, he proves, I mean, throughout the movie, more and more you see that he's probably not fit for the station he has, personality-wise. And,
Yes.
Ultimately that plays out
And you know what's
later
so
on.
great? You know what's so great about this entrance scene? Just modern Hollywood, you need to
Hey,
take
what's up,
notes here.
Connolly?
You get to know everybody within just a few minutes of this
Yeah.
exact scene. You know who they are, what their motivations are, where they're standing. It's not just looking at the, of course, the jackets and everything of figuring out who's who, but also personality wise, who's the leader, who's not the leader, who follows the orders, who's going to be the upstart, younger kid or whatever, what have you. And then you establish the villain. It's like everything, boom, all at once. You know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And then from there, that establishes the stakes later down the road. So it's such a great entrance.
And really when you consider, because there's very clear, like, kind of spiritual undertones to this film.
Oh,
So
yes.
just the idea of this pursuing ship coming out of the fog, almost ghost-like, or in hiding behind that the way it
Like a
does.
demon almost.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Yeah.
in hindsight, it's even better. It's so
Yes.
good.
I did kind of, after rewatching it, though, was like, how did they get seen? How did they fire on them? Those are such lucky shots that
Yep.
it's unbelievable how lucky they are. I mean, and granted, it's a movie and it's got to have suspense and stuff. And in real life, if they can't see them, then they shouldn't. You know what I mean? It's like they shouldn't even. It's not like a ground warfare thing or something. You had to have a little bit more line of sight
Yeah.
Well,
because
fog is fog.
right, exactly.
Well, and I think that tends to speak to kind of the more, spiritual undertones of the movie, is that it's not
Mhm.
supposed to be, completely grounded in that reality. I mean,
Yeah, they're like a demon.
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
It's like
Yeah.
there's I think that's what this is playing into,
Mhm.
rather
You
than just
definitely-
being fully realistic.
Yeah, you're right, Gourd. There's definitely some allusions to that where it's not just ground and reality of, of course we're taking the perspective of the British Empire here, but also, they're the good guys versus the bad guys. But you're right. There's like other added layers of spirituality in this, and that it's, God versus evil, basically. So it's kind of interesting aspect to all of it. And the way they kind of even gave the entrance to the French and the Acheron, it's like, whoa, they come out of nowhere. But then you like the firepower, it establishes the fact that it is the superior ship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it also
I'll play this-
establishes
I'll just play this
Captain Aubrey's
real quick.
experience too,
Mhm.
because when he sees this, he knows what's coming, and he's like, "Everybody down."
Yeah,
And it is, and
I'll
I'll
play
admit,
it
it was
here.
super cool. You hear it like, and you see the flashes, and maybe most people in the audience were like, "Huh, what's that?" And then,
Yeah.
now you're
Here,
like,
let me play this clip real quick.
Yeah. So he's like, "Everybody down."
And it's such a good entrance. It's
Cool.
almost like a dominance factor too. It establishes its dominance on everybody here. It's just, it's so good.
Yeah, Cannoli, at the beginning of the stream, we talked about what this movie was up against. Lord of the Rings, Kill Bill Volume 1, Last Samurai,
Yep.
one
Pirates
of
of the Caribbean,
Pirates of the Caribbean, one of the Fast and Furious movies.
X2.
Just whole bunches of stuff was out that year. We haven't had a year like 2003 in a while.
Yeah.
As I said, that was a mini golden age
Mm-hmm.
in Hollywood.
Oh,
There
also
she is.
Lost in Translation came out that year
Yeah.
too. So
Oh, that's a good one too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Then it breaks through the fog.
Yep.
and it's like
Just
it's almost
looming
like
death.
it's almost like, haha, I got you kind of thing. It's just, oh god, it's so good. Such a good entrance. We don't get these kind of entrances anymore, guys.
Rarely are the French this cool.
That's very true.
Also,
It's an
the girl
American
with the
ship.
pearl earring came out that year too. That's a movie I like
Oh,
because
that's
I really
right.
like that painting. Um,
I
yeah,
like this guy's tattoos on his hands. Hold fast.
yeah, hold
Mhm.
fast. Yep. Yeah, Roman probably has that tattooed on his back or
Probably.
something.
Well, yeah,
That's his tramp stamp.
it's like, no, don't hold fast. Don't let go. Let go. Let go.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it comes
this
out of the
ship just
fog.
totally annihilates their
Mhm.
rudder.
Yep.
Well, it does, and it coming out of the fog, it looks demonic. It looks like some demon from the dark
black-
chasing you
The
down.
black pearl coming out of the fog.
Right, like a ghost ship almost.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful freaking shoots.
And that is true. This movie makes the French look really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's way different. It's like,
But
would you like some croissants?
the
Oh,
Americans,
no. Would you
the
like some brie?
Americans built their ship, so that's why they're good.
Well,
we own them.
and that is kind of a theme is that the Surprise is an older ship that's it's not ancient, but it's outclassed by this new like stealth ship that's faster and more guns and better built with newer technology.
And harder.
Right. Also, you got to remember that at this time in the world, the France wasn't the France we know today.
Mhm.
It was
It was the
Napoleon.
it was
Yeah,
actually the dominating naval yes, naval
Yeah.
Oh, they had their navy was
Power.
powerful.
Yes. They were the
British,
dominant naval they were their navy was the dominant one in the world at that time. Like England was literally trying to, fight against them, and France was the literal world there. That's what it is. World power at that time, basically.
right, because Napoleon had just kicked the crap out of everybody in Europe.
Yep.
He was running wild, beating everybody that went up against him. He took Italy. He took Egypt. He was getting ready to invade Russia, Prussia, all these places that he went. So the land battles translated into the sea battles. Really, the only thing that England had going for it was its navy, because the way that it's an island, it always relies on its navy. So
yes, and I mean, and they were deep established. Yeah, the British Navy was an incredible force. They had numbers. That was the thing that Britain had on their side.
Right, they had way more ships and sailors and of high quality than probably any other
been
nation.
Around.
Right, exactly. But what I'm saying is the French were not slouches. They were good soldiers. They were good sailors.
Yeah.
They had a lot of money and technology. If you look at a lot of breakthroughs in science from this time, a lot of it was coming out of France. So also in like thinking and stuff like that, writings, thinkings on like not theology, but like
you can trace communism to the French Revolution and
yes,
Napoleon.
Yeah, but right. So a lot of stuff was coming out of France. Also, we have to remember that they were a dominant power during the Revolutionary War, and if it wasn't for their help, we wouldn't be a country today.
Yeah.
So
absolutely true.
yeah. So anyway, all I'm saying is this makes France look like the France that it should look like at the time. It's not
something interesting. Paul Blakeney actually studied how to use the instruments of doctor of this time period.
Oh, well,
Paul Bettany.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Paul Bettany
that's
also,
not terribly...
funny enough, Paul Bettany is one of the few cast members who didn't get seasick, because whereas most of the other ones did, despite the fact he's playing a character that's kind of the opposite.
That's funny.
Yeah.
What was it? Let me look real quick. Sorry. Go ahead, talk.
Oh my gosh! Yes. Subtle, it's great.
Yeah, so
But
see, they had
it is kind of true. Fun fact, even though, of course, our founding fathers, they took all of history to look at in terms of building our Constitution, but that was one of the things that they admired. They admired the French, but they did not admire the way they did things, basically. So they just took the good and they left like the 90% bad out of everything.
there were a lot
Hence
of
the French Revolution was very
Yes.
different than our revolution.
Yeah, right, exactly. And that just goes to show, if you look at revolutions around the world, the way that ours went and how it ended up is very rare.
Well, that's
Most
they steered clear. They knew that democracies were not good to begin with because it
Right.
was always going to be ruled by. It's technically, well, specifically, the specific definition of democracy is rule of the mob. So there's that. I mean, they looked at Athens and everything. A little history because I'm a history political buff like this. But yes, they looked at stuff like this and they're like, nope, we don't want democracy. We want something different. So
Yeah. I love this too. They're pulling the ship into the fog with the smaller boats.
Yeah.
Oh, right. After it gets the drop on them, and now
Yeah,
they,
it like blasts their rudder.
yeah, blasts their rudder, and also it's faster, and they have the weather gauge, which means the wind is in their favor compared to how the Surprise, which is the British ship, how it's maneuvering. Yeah. I'm still seeing the ship coming out of the fog, though.
Same.
Okay, so we're all seeing the same thing. I want to make sure I just.
Oh, we are.
It's like,
Well,
Jacob.
I thought Jacob was just like, I'm not scrubbing nothing.
Yeah, he's like, Jason, I love this. I love this one so much. We're just gonna sit here for a minute.
yes.
Have you ever been on a ship at sea in the fog?
no,
No.
I'm not.
Oi.
I've been on ships before, but only when they were in port, like not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's quite the thing. I mean, of course, you have modern technology, so you can the ship can see
There we
through the
go.
fog, but even though you can't.
I love when we meet the surprise on the other end of all of this, and it's complete like this.
Oh,
This you
It got
s-
that.
you feel
It got,
you feel
yeah.
you feel for the ship. You kind of go,
Yeah.
please save it. It's like
It's so wounded.
it's so
Yeah.
wounded, and you can see the Acheron behind it is just, and the way the
wolf
ingenuity of
behind it.
all the manpower trying to pull it along, because that is literally their home. They have to keep it alive,
Mhm.
or else.
Yep.
Well, it has a lot of mass, but it is on the water. So once you kind of get it going,
Right.
it will kind of go in that direction for a while, depending on tides and wind and all
And
that.
you got to catch the wind. If you don't
Yeah.
catch the wind,
But they're also, the thing is, they went for the rigging too, which was
Yep.
a thing
Yeah.
that they did.
oh God,
it
yeah. You
yeah.
kill their sails, you kill the ship.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's basically
Yeah,
those are her arteries. So
One of
that's
the-
her lifeblood.
Remember, they don't have
shots
engines.
They have.
Yep.
It's like two iron balls connected with a chain, and they'll shoot that at the rigging, so it just tangles up all the rigging.
Right. Or it'll have a metal bar between it,
Yeah.
bar shot, so that that can cut more like wood and stuff.
And then you see the deck, how it gets all splattered. That's grape shots, just a bunch of iron balls.
Yeah, it's like a big shotgun.
Yeah.
Yep.
So these guys are pumping
So
so they're taking on water too. So
Uh-huh.
They,
Yeah.
and
got
they
some
did have
big-
these pumps though. I took a tour of the USS Constitution, and when I went
Old
to
Ironsides.
so yeah, I went to do some stuff in Baltimore, and while I was there,
And you survived?
this was back in
Roman.
it was
I've been to
early
Baltimore, I know, it's
it
not
was
good.
it was early 2000s.
And you still survived?
Yeah, but down by where the Constitution is not bad. But anyway, I went
That's like
and
a
took
block.
I went and took a tour of the ship, and I got to see like the pumps and the winches and all that kind of stuff on there. So it's pretty cool. And all that stuff's in really good condition. They've really kept that ship up because it's actually still commissioned.
Yeah,
Commissioned
it's the
naval
oldest
vessel.
commission. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, it's the oldest commissioned ship in the Navy.
Yep, it's the second oldest commissioned ship, if I understand, in the whole world. There's only one in England that's still commissioned, but that one doesn't go out sailing like the Constitution will. They'll take
Damn
they'll,
right.
they'll still take the Constitution out on and like sail it
No,
around.
yeah, they will. Yeah, they will still
Yeah.
put her to sea.
Yep.
Think about how many people it took as deckhands to operate a ship like this.
Yep.
Getting the sails rigged, you
Mhm.
know, all the small components that we take for granted in modern, maritime operations. It took a lot of dudes to make all this stuff work back then. It's just incredible, especially a ship of any size.
Right. A ship of this size was like one of the most technologically advanced and complicated things that they had at their disposal, or that you could do in this time frame.
Yep.
Well, I was looking up some trivia for this movie after the fact, and apparently this ship is a replica of the HMS Rose, and to recreate it, it took 27 miles of rope. that
Oh
they
yeah,
had to
yeah.
use
The amount
for it,
of rope and sail,
just to give a sense of
Yeah.
size.
yeah, it was insane.
And isn't it amazing? They built this ship. It's
Yeah.
just it's so
Yeah, we
so
could do that
pretty.
kind of stuff back then. Which,
I know, Roman.
right now, it would take
we-
27 years to build this ship now.
People
and
also
then it
built the
wouldn't work.
pyramids.
Well, this movie had, a pretty substantial budget for its time. It was like 150 million.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
now it would
Well
it would,
worth it. Well
they'd
worth it.
spend
Well-
500 million on CGI.
Yeah.
And
No, and that's why this movie works so well. I mean, this
So
wasn't
grounded.
You didn't have all the CGI BS because it wouldn't look nearly as convincing. You wouldn't get the feel of the battles. It would be. CGI has its place. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, but if you can go with, actual physical effects, it's always a better.
Yeah, CGI would be far less hated if it was just used on a, must-use basis.
Right.
Yeah,
if
we
you
can't
didn't
do
make-
this any
yeah.
other way.
Yeah. If not Ant-Man levels, the new latest
Oh,
Ant-Man
gosh.
CGI. and then crappy CGI on top of all that.
Yeah.
Crappy and weird. Yeah, well,
yeah.
to make it worse. Flash, we're talking to you.
So old dude got a clunk upside the head.
Yeah,
So-
he took some.
A
Yeah.
shot you shot in the head.
Battle
So
damage.
Gourd, you said that it was 150 million. You said.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna calculate
In
it. real quick. Go ahead.
$2,003. That was a lot. Oh, it's the lad.
This
Oh,
kid, man,
What a
his
Chad.
acting during these scenes.
oh my God.
He's excellent. Absolutely excellent.
Oh, I love this kid. He's my favorite. I want to put him in my pocket and keep him.
He
I
took
love the way that Captain Jack talks to him, though.
Yeah. He doesn't talk down to him, but he cares
No.
about him. He
Yeah.
cares
So-
about him, but he doesn't talk down to him like he's a kid.
So an inflation rate, 150 million translates to 249 million.
Woohoo.
I mean,
Just to
still a
kinda
lot,
give you a-
but comparatively, I guess still not bad, even though the film would have been a flop still.
Yeah.
Well, you think about it because, okay, so Ant-Man and the Wasp new movie cost about $250 million in today's dollars.
And sold.
Compare that to this with the same budget
Oh.
via inflation, which looks better? I mean, come
Well,
on.
which one has standing power?
Yeah.
right.
okay?
And look at Zach's
This
comment
movie we're
here.
watching 20 years later. 20 years later.
Yeah.
And it looks perfect.
It will
And
never
the
not look
characters
great.
are engaging and everything is so good. Ant-Man, I could give I'm on Jacob's channel, so I have to V-chip myself. I could give two turds about Ant-Man. I don't care. And in 10 years, no one will care about it. Even less people will
No.
care about it.
10 years.
This movie,
it's-
people
no one cares
still
about
love
it
to
now.
watch that.
I'm pretty
Exactly.
sure the amount of people that care about it now is down to about 12.
And also, the reason that this movie looks so much better now than it did is because you compare it to anything that's come out.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
all of it is good. There's been a few okay things and a few good things, but by and large, it's been mostly garbage
Yeah.
Yeah.
compared to
Yeah.
this.
Right.
For years and years and
Mhm.
years.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
this is it's rewatching this. It's such a it's you walk away feeling good about yourself because it's so
You do.
good. It's so
So
engaging. There's so much nuance, there's so much character development. And you know what? There's no preaching, but you understand
Mm.
the underlying political climate that it was back then, but you understand it
Yeah.
because you have a reference to it.
Yeah.
So
you mean you don't have a problem with the lack of diversity in this film?
I like all men
because
on
you're a
in my
bigot.
film. Hey, are you calling me that I have a internal misogyny going on there, Roman?
Yes,
You must.
Like,
There's
exactly.
no women
like
and
all
there
my
are no.
male
It's
characters here.
but see, because you're a woman, it's not your fault. It's the
Oh, that's true.
patriarchy that has conditioned you
Keeping you down.
to get to think that way.
Nobody-
you have
nobody
no
Where are all
tells
the
me
agency.
what to
why
do.
aren't there no pink-haired trans seamen? Oh my gosh.
Oh
Yeah.
God, Gourd.
I'm really disappointed, frankly, in
I-
the director.
I
of this film.
just-
I like this scene here. He's like, I know you knew his father, and he says back to him, his father would have understood. His mother, not so much.
And
Yeah.
again, that's why he treats him. He has to treat him like one of his midshipmen, but he shows him a little more attention because he
Yeah.
is he's the son. The kid that's wounded is the son of one of his friends, and he knows the mother.
He has
his
a
mother,
responsibility.
right?
For him.
He
It's like an added layer of responsibility.
right,
Right.
exactly
Right.
above and beyond just him
Different
being
than
part
the rest of the
crew.
crew members.
It's kind of like almost like a family. Like he's an uncle or a father figure
Well,
for him too. If you think
For
about it.
me, the way that Captain Jack approached his crew, the relationships seem very, very, very real.
Yeah.
Yes.
They do. And if and I'm going to say something that'll offend the less hardy viewers. Groups of men, when they are together, act in a different way than if
Yes.
you introduce other elements. That's
Sure.
just the way of things.
Mhm.
I always throw the Thing from 1982 out there. That's a group of it's a small group of men.
Yeah.
If you throw a woman into that mix, it changes the whole thing. This is a group of men at sea who rely on each other. So, and some of them have these relationships that have lasted years. So that's why you have those certain levels. But the characters and the relationships within them are just so well done. Going to see with my crew back when I did so, many of those people, even we span different commands together. So I'd known many of these people for the better part of our adult lives. So when we went to sea together, you have those guys. And then you have the rest of your crew, which are also important to you, but you also have those just super strong relationships. And this movie does a great job of representing those.
Right.
Mhm.
See, what a lot of people think is, oh, the Navy has 200,000 people in it or whatever it was. The issue is that your career that you're in is a way smaller than
Yes.
that, and so you run into the same people over and over and over again. You went to training with them.
Yep.
You went to some kind of special school. They were on a on a base that you were on in a different squadron or whatever, but you still ran into them, and you'll run into them 2 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later, same people over and over. So you build these relationships, and if you're on a ship, which is a self-contained unit all in its own,
There's
it's
nowhere
kind
else
of
to go.
exactly. It's hard to get away from them, and so it builds those bonds. And what's good about what the movie displays is that the captain, he commands his ship, right? Nobody questions his authority,
Yes.
but he respects his crew and they respect him. Like
Yeah.
at no point is he talking down to any of his people, like, get out of here, you peasant, or anything like that. He keeps his distance as the captain, and people
Because
just
he
can't,
has to.
right? Because he has to, and people just don't like walk into his office like nowadays, like Star Trek. Hey, what's up, Bob? Why don't you sit down and have a cup of coffee? No, but this is run like a real military ship with discipline, and
Yes.
Yeah.
if people mess up, they get punished, and but it's all due rules and regulations. He's not like doing anything
guy.
cruel or crazy or whatever.
Yeah. This guy was hilarious, I thought.
Yeah.
Always mumbling under his breath.
Well, he was the steward for the captain, so he had a lot of responsibilities other than preparing his meals and stuff. He had to take care of all his personal baggage. Also, what people
I thought for a sec he was Eric Idle. I'm not gonna lie.
See,
For a
and
sec, I
that's
thought
the
it was
other
Eric
thing
Idle.
is they got ink on the
And he's like,
tablecloth, and he's
"Not on the
like,
tablecloth."
and now he's got to clean it up because it's his responsibility to keep all
He
this stuff
goes-
clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes to write on the tablecloth, and he's like, "Not on the cloth."
You know what I love about this scene too? Like I mean, obviously
Yes.
it's
And he puts the paper down.
And see, the captain knows that he messed up.
but he
Yep.
knows he messed up.
Right. And is this guy, so they have enough of a relationship where he respects this steward enough to know that, okay, I'm screwing this guy by doing this. You know what I mean? But I'm still the captain, so I'm going to do what I do. But it's one of those things where he respects his position. Yeah, look at this. This was his
Oh, I
little
love it.
private
I know
toilet got
the
blown up.
loo.
Yeah. I mean, basically, it's just a
Hole in one.
hole that goes into the water outside, but he's got his
But
own private
still.
little thing.
now it's a
That was
bigger
his
hole at
hole.
this point.
It's a hole in, it's a hole in
Is it
But
is
see-
it is it
but see-
punny to say I love this shot?
Maybe Gourd.
Fine, Mark.
Oh,
But
it's-
I love this
the
entire
framing of
I love
it
this
is
entire
awesome.
scene. I love this entire scene though, because it definitely gives you, if for lack of a better term, world building of the ship itself. It's giving
Mhm.
you what it looks like, how they operate inside,
Yep.
how like they're passing through and they're walking through, and all of a sudden here's this they're putting the walls together, and here's this formal, but of course now it's all in treads, formal room in the back and everything else, and they're sitting there, they're all sweaty, probably haven't showered and, well, not showered, but bathed in weeks and months
No
and
one
whatever
smells good.
years. Yeah, there's nothing to it, and they're all bloodied up, but then they're just like, I love it. It's such a good scene to establish
Yeah.
how these men were men back in the day
Yeah.
during this time period, and
I
how they
love-
Well, it's
handled
also-
everything.
Yeah.
It's also very good with establishing relationships with his senior staff.
Exactly.
Seeing
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
Mhm. Right.
And I love the little touches about the ship, which makes the ship a character.
Mhm.
Yes, I love it.
He calls it an aged ship, and they're like, "No, she's not aged."
She's a fine vessel.
Well, and
Yeah,
it's like he
she's-
takes
she's
offense
in
to
her
it. Also,
prime.
it's like,
Yes.
hey, this is my ship you're talking about here. Hang
But
on.
right
This
here
this is
where
this is my this is my this is my baby girl. Leave her alone.
Yeah.
He gets.
sorry, my bad.
I like how
And-
he just touches the ship
Uh-huh.
here.
Very
Like-
affectionately.
Yeah, with affection. Yeah, it's like, I mean, he grew up on this ship.
But yeah, he loves his baby.
Well, I mean, it's more than just a ship to him. It's a representation of England.
Mhm.
It's also a representation of himself. So that's
Yeah.
the way a ship captain feels. It's
There's a
not
great-
just
there's a
vessel
great
to
line.
command of.
It's an extension of himself too.
Well, there's a fantastic line where one of them says there's enough of his blood, in the boards to where you could almost call this his relative. I was like,
Yeah.
that's a great line. I love that.
it's a good way. Like it's a small sentence, but a good way to establish
Yeah.
how much he really cares about this ship.
Mhm.
So that's good writing.
Yeah, that's good writing. Look at all those lines. Oh my God.
Hey,
Look
Roman,
at that.
Roman, did you work on a ship like this back in your time?
If you look at the bottom of the screen next to the light in the middle,
I poke fun.
so many
I mean,
lines.
to us, that looks very complicated and wouldn't know a single thing what to do.
No.
But
Where
these
does this
guys are
start?
These guys know it so well that it's nothing to them.
Well,
I don't know what you're talking about. It looks just like this behind my computer.
yeah, exactly. But that's what I was going to say. I mean, they just don't throw you in there and expect you to know how
Oh,
to do
the
stuff.
lad.
You got to learn how to do it. I think if you have the aptitude, anybody could learn. It just take time. How to do it, what position to be in, and stuff.
It's just terrifying compared to
Yeah.
modern.
Well, yeah,
leadership.
yeah. They're
Roman, is this the
OSHA would
only
lose their
show
mind.
you like kids have to do?
They would indeed. Oh,
So
Is this the only show you like kids in, Roman? Because
yes, because he loses an arm.
Mhm.
now,
He,
I do find some movies where there's kids in it very annoying.
this kid's not annoying though.
No.
Not
Not
at
at
all.
all.
yeah, none of the
He
kids
acts
are
like
annoying in
he
this.
acts like a
And another
crewman.
thing, kids of this time grew up faster.
Very
than
different.
Oh yeah,
kids
because you
today.
got beat if you got out of line.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, true.
For people that didn't catch what happened to him, when they first got attacked in the first part of the movie, he didn't get shot. A big splinter of wood went straight through his arm,
Yeah.
and his arm got infected from that.
as
Uh,
was
It
was
broke
common
his
in the
arm.
day.
right,
I think.
because didn't have antibiotics, and it was a dirty piece of wood. So, and he's got a fever. He's sweating. So they got to cut his arm off.
Yeah, and he's talking to
Oh.
his friend here. Is it true that the hammock that they sleep in, they sew, if somebody dies, they sew him up in that. So he's saying to his friend, is it true that they sew the last stitch through your nose to make sure you're not dead?
Right, and that might have been a thing because people, they didn't
True.
have, like, they didn't even, that some doctors like knew how to take pulses, but most people didn't. So sometimes you would be unconscious but not dead, and they would bury you alive or whatever. So that was a fear that people had, especially during this age, because science was just now starting to kind of get going. You had the printing press, so your average person could buy, like, could go to a library or whatever and kind of look stuff up. So it was becoming a little more known about stuff, so it would be
It
more
was
widespread.
it
Like a
was the
newspaper story would say this guy got buried alive, and that would, it was like the Twitter of its day.
yes.
Yeah.
And while to us it'd be very primitive, back then it was technologically
Facebook.
advanced. So
Right. Yep. Exactly. But anyway, so that was something that they might have really done as a old, sea dog tradition, is to put that needle through your nose as the last stitch to make sure that you weren't really just sleeping or unconscious.
Yeah. And how they do it, he's asleep when they start, so it's like he wakes up and they're cutting his arm off.
We're black screen right now.
Yeah, our
Jacob.
screen is very diverse at the moment.
Really? Oh, come on, screen.
We have a screen of color.
The a lot of times back then, if you got a shot or wounded in the arm or leg, if the bone shattered, there was an automatic cut your arm off, cut your
Yep,
leg
you're
off.
gone.
Or most likely it would get gangrene or something and start, flesh falling off. So you had to cut it off then in order to stop the progression of it. But
Yeah.
if they didn't clean the instruments correctly, you just got another infection.
Different infection, yeah.
Different infection.
Which would also kill you. So
Right.
it was a fine time.
Yeah. So he's asleep when they start the procedure.
Now they did have
Yeah, they basically wake him up and he's like getting that thing put on his arm. Yeah.
they did have some forms of opiate anesthetics back then. But it wasn't like morphine hadn't been discovered yet.
no, and it
Right.
There
Or
wasn't
ether. There was no ether.
yeah,
either.
ether. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. None of that stuff comes along until a few years later, at the
Yeah.
like the 1830s and
So
stuff.
this is what they
Which
this is what
doesn't
they
help
had
this
to
kid.
so this is what they would have to do, where basically, yes, you had to literally grin and bear it.
Yeah.
But
Like I think they were
To
like
let you know,
researching
this is
morphine
how
at this
they
time,
do
but
it.
they hadn't really utilized it.
Exactly.
I'm
It
not
probably
gonna get
wasn't
graphic,
as
but
prevalent or as much back then, supply wise.
There's
Mhm.
like a knife that's curved.
Mhm.
And on the underside of the curve is where it's sharp, so you can.
Mm.
You
Yeah,
take
it cuts
that and
around
cut
for the
cut
meat.
the flesh
Yep.
off.
Mhm.
And
And-
then you
God.
saw the
And
bone.
Mando is
Oh.
correct. Whiskey, all that, babe. Yes, exactly. They
Yeah.
would literally alcohol was the only medicine they could give to numb anything, whether it be the wound or to numb the pain.
Didn't they? Yeah, they've got him chewing on either a bit of leather or some wood.
I think it's
It's a leather strap. Yeah.
Yeah.
leather's. It's like they rolled it up to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can see
It's
rolled there.
rolled up rawhide. Yep.
Yeah.
And then you give them just a double ration of rum, and then off you go.
And
He takes it like a
his
champ,
assistant-
though.
his
I know.
assistant
He does.
here is
But you know what? I
squeamish.
love
So-
how, even though he's a young
comes
boy,
in
he
later.
still is brave like a little man. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's so
He's incredibly
brave.
brave.
And while they don't actually show the amputation,
No, I know.
the fact that they
Mhm.
don't cut away from this scene,
No, and they
is
don't need
really
to
good
either, though. That's the
filmmaking.
nice thing.
Yeah.
And in lesser movies today would absolutely cut away from this. They wouldn't want you seeing even his reaction to it.
And
Yep.
even his his acting through this entire scene too is just perfect.
Yeah.
Yep. Also,
And even Paul Bettany here, he's in tears because he's like, oh my gosh, he was so, his character is in tears because it's like this is not easy for him to do either.
Mm-hmm.
well, one of the reasons that I think he bore it so well is it's part of his character and who the kid is, but also his responsibility. He's an aristocrat. He's a lord, so he can't. You know what I mean? Like that really
Yeah.
meant
You
something to
can't
people back
show the
then,
weakness.
right? And throughout the movie, he displays that he's right to have those those kind of things. He's a good person.
Yeah, he's worthy of his titles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's worthy
Yeah.
of his titles. Exactly. Right.
That's
right.
an
Right.
excellent way to
And
say it.
Yeah.
Get to see the only female member of the cast.
Yep.
The shit.
Well, back then it was considered bad luck to have a woman on board. And I mean, go figure. You got all these dudes on there, and you got
Yeah.
women on board. Of course, that's going to cause problems.
Yeah.
You know, because these guys just didn't
subtle.
recognize.
You're too right.
What? That's the face or menace
this-
of a
yeah,
Jets
this-
fan every Sunday.
Especially
There's your
today.
powder monkey.
Oh,
There's your powder monkey.
Yeah, see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, how old's that kid? 7?
Powder monkey.
if
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But see, back, hi, Salty. But back,
Thank
Back-
you.
Hey,
the back then though, boys, well, they wouldn't call them really boys back then. They were men. Like they were men pretty much at the age of 8. Unlike today, where it's
Like
things are a
today,
little
where
bit
it's not
different.
even 28.
Yeah, it's more like 35 or something.
and
But yeah,
that-
well,
that
even
kid might be
men,
a
but
orphan,
men
too.
and women back then were, of
Yeah.
course, they were men and women at much younger ages. And I'm not implying anything. I'm just saying that's how society and civilization was
different.
raised back then.
It had to
Yeah.
be.
Yes,
Yeah.
they had to be because the world
Life was
exact-
shorter and
Right,
things
yeah,
were
yeah.
harder.
You didn't live as
Exactly.
long. Yep.
Yeah, they're
And
the
too, a lot of people
yeah.
lost children
yes.
Mhm.
young.
Yes.
So
Oh yeah, the infant mortality rate was super high.
Oh yeah, there was a lot more death back then.
I mean,
Yeah.
I live near an old graveyard that's probably from this time period, and a lot of the graves are kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, that was very common.
So,
And you were saying before, Jacob, that kid was probably an orphan or something, and that's why he was
Yeah,
on the
I
ship,
mean,
little
he
powder
could be.
monkey kid. Yeah,
powder
that makes a lot of sense. Or he could have been, the child of
Sorry,
just
exact
somebody
same
on the
comment.
ship.
Oh, where it says AJ
Sex
says
is
the same
coming.
thing.
Again, look at that rigging. It's
Mhm.
terrifying.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no safety harnesses or anything, and you had to go up there in all kinds of weather.
Yeah.
Now you would have to have some safety officer and all that kind of stuff. No, back then they didn't have that time. They didn't have that time at all, to be quite honest.
Where's your
You know what?
safety line, man?
Life was a risk back then, and they lived it
Yes.
that way.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't
like, where's
live a life of luxury and safety.
I can just see OSHA back then. Hey, where's your safety line and your hard hat?
Yep, and your hard hat, yeah, and your
This doesn't meet safety requirements. So
Why aren't you all wearing earplugs?
The crew would have thrown him off the ship.
oh yeah, that. So if you go back or forward one frame where it showed
Ocean
that.
in the ocean.
I love this.
So okay, so that's the captain's initials from 1785 when he was a midshipman.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So this is 1803, correct? If I remember right.
This
Something
is
like
yes,
that. Yeah.
This is like almost 20 years later. This is
Right.
off. This is off the heels of the American Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Napoleon.
1805.
Huge.
1805. That's when it
Okay.
takes place.
Right. Yeah. So at this point, America and England were not at war. We had already, the revolution.
I think they altered the year because of that. Because if they had depicted it a little bit like I think after, then it would have had to be England and America. I think that's what they changed.
Well, it really wouldn't have because they were constantly at war with France anyway,
Yes.
for the most part.
They hated
But,
each other forever.
Yeah. But yeah, they did change it in the book. It was an American ship. But anyway, so
Yes,
1785,
yes, Tori.
which means that I'm trying to look up how old the ship is supposed to be.
Well, it said he had been with it pretty much the whole time, so it's probably around that age, I guess.
I think it was older than that.
Yeah.
Might have been, yeah.
Well, I
But
mean,
they-
think about the American
Mm.
Navy today. We have ships in the fleet that are just slightly younger than I am.
Which
That's
doesn't
old.
which doesn't seem that doesn't seem young.
It's not.
If
It's not.
you're talking like when there were C-130s still flying when I came in that were older than me. That were
No, I had 46s that I dealt with that were older than I was back.
yeah,
back when I
and
was doing
if
the
you're talking
46s, yeah.
B-52s that we still fly, a lot of them are from like 66, 67. There's
So-
nothing newer than those really.
That
So-
was put there like 2 years after the Revolutionary War. Just
Right,
to give
yep.
you
Apparently, the
Time frame.
USS Constitution is the oldest commissioned ship still in the Navy.
And
Ooh.
yeah, in
That's
the
a little
American
bit
Navy,
different though.
yeah.
That's not going to see combat. But like
Right.
Nimitz, for instance, Nimitz is 2 years younger than I am.
Yeah.
So if that gives you an indication as to how old some of our big ships in the active fleet are.
I love this scene too.
Look, diversity.
Where they're
Yeah!
operating on the
Oh my god!
We have it. We did it.
Yay!
But that was not abnormal back then.
No,
They-
not at all.
Where's the Wham and
No,
Girl Boss
no.
moment though? I need
The,
to see
the one
that.
behind Paul Bettany, he just doesn't look that way because of, sea life.
Oh hey, look, it's
Or she.
Roman.
This is a scene where I was just like,
No,
wow,
I
this movie
didn't
got
know you
away
had
with a lot
a
for a
surgery
PG-13
back
movie.
then on the-
It's just
on the
pretty
head.
gross. It's like,
I
is
love-
that his
I lo-
brains?
love
You know,
It's
it's so
like,
it's so
"Are those
funny
his
though.
brains, Doctor?"
I love the fact that all of them act like little boys going, oh, like they all lean in, even though it's gross and probably disturbing to them. They kind of go, oh, what is
It's like,
that?
So they.
I'm like,
he's-
it's very
he's cut
typical.
A
Yep.
piece of the skull out to relieve pressure. And
Yes.
he's going to replace it with a coin.
Yep.
hmm
Oh yes, yes.
Uh,
I
Are
love
those
that.
his brains, Doctor?
It's like, no. It's like, this is his brains.
Those are his brains.
1774 is what I'm seeing here
For commissioning of
for the surprise,
surprise?
right? Yeah,
Okay.
it's for the 28 gun Enterprise class six rate frigate.
So it would have been about 30-ish years old, 31 years old. Yeah.
And then the
they all leave now.
That guy's like,
the ship that
"What do you have
they're
to get back to work?" And even this guy's like, "Oh, what is that?"
It's like, oh dear. I half expected him to say, is that his brains? Like, and then
Are
cut the
those
scene
his
up.
brains?
well, that's because the other guy was like, "Get back to work, you loafers!" And in the military, there's always a guy like that. This guy right here. He's got to walk around, and basically everyone avoids him.
Yeah. He's like, oh, that's what they were
Yep.
looking at.
Dude, even the
Yeah,
Mexicans are like,
eventually,
"Uh-oh."
if you stay in long enough, you become this guy.
You are that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Now, see, this is where CGI comes in right here. I mean, it could be
But
behind his back.
limited use.
Very limited.
use.
Nowadays, they would be mad that they didn't hire a one-armed actor.
Yes, I need a one-armed 8-year-old boy. Do you have one of those?
Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't,
but
but I
Maybe a
can
shock
get you one.
victim or-
I
Soon.
love this. I love this so much though. This is really
Ah,
this
Lord
is really
Nelson.
cool. Yeah.
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 This would have been a relatively new book.
Mhm.
Yeah, Nelson was the the Hercules of the British fleet. If you
Mhm.
don't know who Lord Nelson was.
And he didn't have an arm either. He lost an arm too.
I actually didn't know that. That does add something to the scene then.
Yeah,
I knew the
he-
name Nelson, but I
right.
didn't know he was missing an arm. Well, there you go.
And then it kind of, because he can't he as a captain he can't do too much, but that book is probably as much as he can possibly do in terms of bringing or boosting his morale in this situation.
Yeah.
Because it's probably, I mean, you lose an arm that age, that's almost that's not technically a career ender, but it could possibly be one if you are not useful.
And
Oh, yeah.
So-
your right arm. It was
Yes.
his right arm too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because And because back then they taught everybody to be righties because
Yes.
of religious reasons, for one.
See,
I myself am not,
There's
but that's
his-
okay.
there's his
Oh,
sleeve of his
yes.
uniform.
It's pinned up.
So this
Because
takes
it's
place
something interesting here.
before
his
the.
pinned up sleeve there. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say this movie takes place. This is 1803. The Battle of Trafalgar is in 1805, where he dies. So he's still alive. He's a giant among. He's an admiral.
Yes.
People know who he is. He's already famous for the Battle of the Nile and a bunch of other stuff. So he's not dead. He's not like in the past. This guy is still got great things to do, but he lost his arm. So he's like a role model for this kid.
Yeah.
Paintings in this time period.
Thank you, Copa. Thank you.
Portrait paintings. You see his sleeve pinned there. That was a style of what they would do in a painting. They would put their hand like that. So if you see portraits of this time period, men had their hand up like that. Just an interesting tidbit.
Cool.
And I don't know what this guy's.
I mean, the British Navy and the American Navy have an awful
He's cooking
lot in
this.
common. It's the arm, oddly enough.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. It's not the arm.
We won't let none of your arm go to waste, kid. Don't worry.
It's so delightful. It's soft. It's like veal it is. It's so tender. I love this scene.
And the music.
And by the way,
the
Russell
music
Crowe had
in this.
he had to learn violin specifically for this movie, and at the time he said it was the hardest thing he had ever learned for a movie.
Yep.
And the relationship between the doctor and the captain it's very reminiscent of Kirk and Bones.
Yeah.
It is. The doctor is the conscience and the captain is the commander.
Yeah.
They both have their job, but they both rely on each other. And that's what I mean. That's again going back to Men in Combat. That's not an odd trait that you have someone you rely on to help right the course if you are not necessarily on it. So throwing that out there.
Yeah.
And if made today, they'd have them sharing a bunk.
Oh God!
Yes.
Don't even go down that road, please.
This
can we-
wouldn't be the only fiddling.
Oh, my.
Like,
it'll be broke back, Master and Commander.
yeah.
Oh
like,
no!
like
No.
two weevils on a hardtack.
Oh God!
Oh no.
But it was a beautifully filmed scene. It was just
Yes, it was.
that's all. I mean,
Very.
you get. I don't even know how long the scene is. It's not particularly long. It's a couple minutes, but it's really nice. And then Jacob turns out the lights. Oh, there we go. Okay.
It was just a transition for the anchor.
Yeah.
Is that a euphemism? Is that like
Oh, this part
is that like
here.
the rockets
This is
launching?
funny.
No one's
Yes.
getting that. Okay.
Roman,
is
you're
funny.
the rockets that went
Watch
glare.
this dude. Watch this dude. He makes out with the ship.
Oh, lady.
Aw.
I
I'm so
will
lonely. It's been so
say-
long since I've seen a woman.
I thought that's like a thing they do for good luck or something.
Yeah. I'm just
That's true.
being funny.
I guess when they recarved it, they had to decrease their cup size, I guess. So
Hey, he did a fine job.
Yeah, he could have glued some more wood on there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a euphemism?
Yeah.
What are you doing up there? Gluing wood, Captain.
I do know that the figurehead was really important on a ship, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And remember,
And
they
this-
did keep
this-
stocks of
this is
lumber on
great,
board
too.
to make these kind of repairs.
Oh yeah. They had all miles of sailcloth, tons of extra rope.
Yeah, the below decks were
yeah.
a storehouse of things that they would need after
Yeah.
a battle, and they had to fix stuff.
Right. And
I
the
love this, too.
the
This
powder
adds such
magazine was
a good-
copper lined.
Part to his character.
Yeah. Dearest beloved Sophie. It's just a drawing. It's a waifu.
Yeah. What are you saying? That these days she'd have cat ears?
It's like,
Dear Aubrey,
there are
I'm
people
so
today
lonely
who
here
are
back
in
at
love with
home.
drawings, but they don't need to be.
That's not the same thing. That's not
Not the
healthy.
same.
No, it's not. It's called a portrait, Gourd. It's not a drawing.
So
It's a portrait.
so these two guys come in to talk to the captain. They've had to go through the steward guy, and the entire time that they're talking to him, this steward guy is like, "Don't say anything dumb. Don't, you know what I mean? Don't, yeah,
Take your hat off.
yep." And then as soon as they're done, he's like, "Get the hell out."
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, this guy was in the Americas when that ship was built. So
Mhm.
he saw the inside of it.
Yeah.
And they made this model of it.
Right, to show
That's
the
good
captain.
shit.
Yeah.
What's funny is like I think today with our like we would probably see like a movie set more modern. We would find this level of detail near impossible for someone to recall from memory, but it's far more believable back then.
Yes.
It is.
Them being able to recall this level of detail makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, also they know ships.
Exactly.
They work on ships. They know what to look at, and
Mhm.
it's not like they're they know how many guns it has and all that. Besides, most ships, all the rigging is all the same
Mhm.
for the most part. So it's just the hull that they're
Yeah.
looking at.
So he says, "Give these men a double ration of rum."
Yeah, and he's like
like,
under his breath, like,
I was saving that.
yeah, exactly. Yep. So yeah, see, he's got to manage the resources and stuff. And then what I like is they're like, hey, it's swift to line and draft and all this, and it's got thick sides and whatever. And then the captain's like, wow, what a wonderful modern age we live in.
Yeah.
So you got to remember that back then, at any time, at any point in time in history, whatever you're doing that time is the cutting edge. So
Yeah.
we're talking smartphones and computers and stuff.
So,
and in
yeah, so this
30
would
years,
be
who
like
knows?
the Panzer tank of its time. It would have been that much.
Yeah,
of
it's the
a
next level.
Right.
Level.
step in evolution of the ship.
Now, if you're going up against it, it's not so good. But
No,
to appreciate its beauty is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
they're just admiring the curves.
And then this up and coming, I guess he's the second in command. The guy on the left
I
here.
think so.
I know the guy on the right is his sailing captain or whatever. He's like in charge of like actually sailing the ship and making sure it navigates and all that kind of stuff. Whereas this other guy is going to be a captain someday. I don't think this older guy will ever captain his own ship.
No.
He's more of a
He's-
technical expert.
Yeah, I got the more he's like the cob of the ship.
Yeah, he's a sailing
guess.
master. So
Would that be right?
Well, we know by the end of the movie he definitely won't be a captain, unfortunately.
No, that's
well,
true.
yeah. But what I mean is I don't think.
But I know what you mean, yeah.
Fits, and it might be his station of birth or something, where he's
that
not.
could be a thing because that was
Yeah,
definitely a thing back in the day.
Right.
I mean, you could work yourself. If you were just a commoner, you could work yourself up to captain. But if there were,
It topped out unless you were
Yeah.
connected or you bought your commission or
Or
whatever.
you were in nobility of some sort.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You had to have
Yeah.
like some type of by birth. It would limit you. You want to talk about glass ceilings these days? It was a real thing back then.
Yeah, you had limited trajectory depending on when which station you were born.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Right. And
I
that's
like
why
that.
America at
You
the
could-
time was so attractive to people, is because you could just go there and make it no matter what your background was, for the most
Yes,
part.
regardless.
Yeah.
I love this part. The guy that was yelling at him to get back to work earlier, you can hear him in the background. Put that woman down.
yeah, exactly.
Parrots.
Cooler.
Yeah. So they're getting because they're off the coast of South America, I think.
Yeah. Well, for some weird reason the subtitles wouldn't turn off on my copy of this, so it said Portuguese, and I'm like, okay, so they're still around Brazil then.
Right. Yeah, and this guy's like the mayor of the town or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also, because Portuguese were neutral, they're able to collect the mail and people can come and go. Yeah, see, that's off the coast of of Argentina, or yeah, where Argentina would be now.
Same continent as Colombia, which also has powder monkeys.
Yeah, the French ship went through here a few days.
Different kind of powder, different kind of monkey.
Yeah.
I love how he's like figuring how long it was when the ship went past. Just kind of figuring where it is.
Just getting little details that can give him advantages.
And this is just great. I mean, leading up to the ship, them running into the ship again.
This is great.
Yeah. Like, I haven't seen a lady in so long.
It's like, that's a fetching lass.
I love, it's like that French ship knew this was the closest port they could go to get more supplies.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's waiting for them around the corner or something. It's great.
Well, also the French ship's purpose is really not to hunt these guys. These guys are hunting the French ship. The French ship's mission is to attack British merchant ships in this area, whalers and whatever else they can get, to hurt England's economy. Plus, for the captain and the crew of that ship, you want to capture the ship because then you can sell what's on it, and you get fame and glory, but also you get money, which was a big thing. So it was financially advantageous to do this kind of almost piracy kind of thing. But because you're at war, it's not really piracy. It's just an act of war.
Yeah.
I love this. It's like doing an anecdote of Lord Nelson. He's like, "Would you pass me the salt?" Thought it was funny.
That was pretty. What was the second thing he said to him? He said he told a story.
It's like somebody offered him a coat, and he's like, "No, the thought
right, yeah,
keeps him warm or something."
Yeah, and he said normally like you would just chalk that up to enthusiasm or something like that. He goes, but with him, you believed it.
I have a funny story. So that young kid there, of course, when I was in high school, I was much younger. So that I thought he was cute. And then when I found out later what happened to him, I'm like, no.
You're talking about the kid at the table?
Yes.
Right.
One of
Hey,
the,
what's up?
hey,
Miss
Miss
Muses.
Muses.
What happened to him?
You know what happened to him, Gourd?
He gets stabbed
in the movie. Are you talking about in the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the movie.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the actor for a second.
No,
I was
sorry.
like, did something bad happen to this actor? What?
Gord was actually worried.
No.
He was.
I
flustered.
was. You had me invested in the story.
Never choose the lesser of two evils, by the way.
I know this is hilarious. This is funny.
As a purveyor of puns, I quite liked that.
Yeah, me too.
I enjoyed that.
And it like he really gets him to analyze.
Yep, yeah, because he's a man of science, and all these new things are coming out, like the origin of species is being floated around. Darwin is like still alive and doing research and stuff.
Well, see, this is really the 1700s and the 1800s were really a prime time, especially the later years of the 1700s. It was a prime time for science and technology and all of this,
Yeah, the Enlightenment. Yep.
The Enlightenment, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The Enlightenment period that came in that really sparked all of this, science and research and analytical, look to things, and it's very fascinating.
This poor
What
guy
was that
can
word?
Never catch a break.
What was what word, Roman?
I don't know. One of them. You said a lot.
Roman, are words hard for you?
So right now they are. I went through all my margaritas. I can't find my shoe. I don't know where it went. Oh, there it is. I
So-
found my
Did you
shoe.
get it?
I found it.
So what was happening in that scene previously, where they're all standing on the deck, is the crew were like singing and stuff and having a good time, and that one midshipman guy, the older one, that's kind of a mess up, he starts singing too, and everyone's like, "Why
They
are
stopped
you
it.
jumping in?" Right, and so what it is he's too familiar with the crew and trying to be cool with them because nobody likes him, so he's trying to be he's awkwardly trying to like fit in, but he's making
Yep.
it worse because
Yeah.
Now
they
the
don't
captain
like him.
noticed that.
Right, and the captain's like, "Hey, you shouldn't try to do that. They need to respect
Don't butt
you."
in
and
on
they-
the men.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it'd be like an older, like an officer crashing like a party of a bunch of young people. It
Yeah.
it just it makes the whole thing not fun.
Well, part of
And two,
this
the-
this speaks to what I appreciate so much the dialogue in this movie and how they don't hold your hand, because like when that first happened, I didn't exactly understand what their issue was until later when he has that talk with him, and I was like, oh, okay, that was the problem with him singing. And it's like I like that they don't make it explicit exactly what it is the issue is there, because most movies would just flat out tell you, oh, he's not supposed to do that, yada yada
Yeah.
yada. And
And in here, the old fella wakes up, and then they're being watched.
Mother.
It's very interesting how she comes up like that, like fast and furious, and it's so scary.
No, she just appears like she's magic.
Exactly.
It's
She's
scary. Yeah.
she's a demon. She's
Mhm.
a again another character in the story.
It almost
She's
looks
a
like an
man-eater.
upside down cross on her mast as well.
Mhm.
And I like how they put the extra sails out, and they're like,
And he makes the statement that like they come upon us in the dark. Like, how did they find us? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they're in a better position because of the wind and whatever. So if they turn to fight, they'll be in a bad spot. So they're gonna try to outrun her.
And
It
it's
struck
like,
me
well,
also, it's how it's
we'll
like
put out
you're
our
basically seeing him
handkerchiefs.
just wake up, and they tell you, yeah, we're gonna have to run from this thing pretty much all day and night. It's like we gotta last until the night.
Yeah,
He's like, "This is
if
the
the
second
enemy
time
ship
we've-"
can go broads on you, turn to its side,
Mhm.
and unleash her cannon on you, you're screwed.
exactly.
Yeah.
The worst position you can be in is if they are side by side and they unleash. But anytime they can get close enough to you and turn broadside and then unleash the cannon, that's you're in a bad way.
And then this guy says it's a devil ship. The devil's at the helm of that ship.
Just shut your mouth, man.
I knew the devil was French.
Ah,
Oui, oui. Would you like some brie, sir?
these ships are just beautiful.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
Oh, it's so pretty.
There are a few things more aesthetically pleasing than a ship.
In a tall ship. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Looks so good. And then you see it.
That's a
right
good
back in
shot
the
with the
distance.
ship in the distance. Oh,
Yeah.
It
that's
is.
beautifully
It's
done.
awesome.
Cinematography
And you got that
great.
giant pendant that flapping up there. That thing must weigh 100 pounds.
Yeah.
Just in cloth.
You're probably right because that's huge. It's Mr. One Arm, as he's called for the rest of the film.
And at the same time as they're being pursued, so they're aggressively being pursued and aggressively trying to flee. He's giving them a lesson. This is how they had to do it. They had to this is real life.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, those
There
kinds
were
of things
there were
go
no
on.
safe spaces.
Also, one thing that this doesn't convey is, he just had his arm cut off, but now he's up here doing this. So the amount of time that elapsed between those events is very non-specific. Like they
Yeah.
could have been at
Yes.
sea for weeks before this next event happened. So he got his arm cut off to go to port. It could have been 3-4 weeks or even longer by the time they were in that port talking to the Portuguese people until this happens.
Yeah.
So it's you know what I mean? It's not
Right.
there's it's not there's
No,
not
well, you
like
have
specific dates and times.
you have to have that. Otherwise, you just have all the dead time while you're at sea,
Yeah.
which there's a lot of, by the way.
Or you you wind up like Disney, where you have unbelievable like time sequences and stuff.
This trick was great, I thought, where they're like build a little mock-up of the ship.
Yeah,
Oh God, yeah, that was brilliant.
it was awesome.
Yep.
And then they had the guy in the back there because they wanted to light it up at just the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like the midshipman is like, it's your first command. You
Yeah.
get to ride some little barrels. But actually, it's a dangerous thing because if something happens,
Oh,
he's
it's
screwed.
terribly
He's
dangerous.
Well, they
totally
fire
done.
on it while he's still on it. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, if it like breaks loose or he falls in the water or something, he's done.
Mm-hmm.
There's no finding him in the dark, and you can't turn that ship around.
Yep.
Well, you can, but it'd be like an hour.
But you're all going to die as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the other thing. Because now you're headed back at your opponent, which would be unexpected. They're like a Jim Kirk move. Are they turning towards us? Who does that?
What was that?
But this,
Is that a
yeah, this was
projection?
great. Yeah, the mock-up was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, they kill the light in the back of the ship and then light the light on the decoy at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
And because it's shorter, it keeps the same level as those lights in the little glass windows. And
Yeah.
then that one on the top would be the one that's on the back of the ship on the railing. And then he swims back, or they tow him back or whatever, and then get him out of the water.
This was brilliant.
Mhm.
This was
Yeah.
such a brilliant thing to
That's
do.
and that's tactical seamanship. That's
Yep.
crazy good stuff.
And using the limited resources that you had around you to do that. Isn't it? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, Pippin.
Lynn-
Oh, I love
Lynn's
this
stuff
shot.
too.
This is so cool.
Oh yeah. There's more than one Captain Jack in 2003.
It's so good. Now they're behind.
Shots like this make me think. Because Return of the King won 11 out of 11 Oscars, and the fact that this won cinematography makes me think that they intentionally made sure that Return of the King didn't get nominated for cinematography, because the cinematography in that movie is pretty spectacular. Also, but they were
Agreed.
like, we kind of want it to have that 11 for 11 ratio, so let's just not nominate it because this clearly needs to win.
There's no way.
If this movie had come out in a different year, it would have won all the awards: best
Right.
picture, best actor, best director,
Yeah.
best score, best cinematographer, all the bests, except for best actress, because I don't think the busty thing on the front of the ship would have gotten it. But
She would have been
the rest of it,
nominated.
she could have been.
This poor guy too that gets knocked overboard.
Well, they have to go around the Cape of Good Hope, around the horn
Yes.
of the bottom, and that's notoriously a rough sea.
Yeah, no, it's a terrible spot. It is.
Yeah, because of how the two oceans mix, and I guess that between the two, it causes like really bad currents, and the weather's crap. And depending on the time of year, it's very cold down there. It's
the Arctic Ocean colliding
Right.
with the bottom of the Atlantic
Yeah,
or
and
Pacific, I suppose, depending which side you're on. But
and people think
that's
South America's hot, but the farther south you go, the way colder it gets.
yes,
So then,
that's like I said, it's the Arctic Ocean that they're colliding with.
Mm-hmm.
so this guy, the part of the ship he's on, it breaks off,
And then
it's-
basically the debris is
Acts
acting
like
as
an
an anchor. Oh, this is just harrowing stuff
Oh,
right here.
it sucks.
Oh man, this is just harrowing stuff. Because he's like, you're like,
Yeah, they're
you
pulling
have
the
to make a
ship back. They're
decision. It's
holding
like
the ship back.
either we get stuck and we die, or we have to cut him loose, and that's it for him. Ugh.
Oh, I know. Gosh, this is there's so many heartbreaking
Well,
moments.
it's a terrible
in this film.
decision.
Yes. But then he
You know,
has
there-
to it's what is it, one of the best lines in
The good of the
Rat-
many outweighs the good of the
you
few.
knew exactly what I
or the
was gonna
one.
go with. Yep.
Of course I do, Mags.
Get out of my
Like-
head, Roman. That's creepy.
and he hands the guy his best friend to cut the ropes. It's just ew.
And it's so
Terrible.
bad because this is the Cape.
Well, it's
So- and the
heart-wrenching.
Cape is terrible. Like you don't want to.
No, he's dead. No,
Yeah.
and he knows he's
Yeah,
dead.
he's-
He was dead. He was dead as soon as he hit the water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the water's so cold, he probably wasn't going to live that long. Even if they could turn around and get him, he would have froze to death already.
Yeah.
So, but you see him like disappear into the waves, and now this guy, everyone's calling him a Jonas, and they're like the ship is cursed because this guy is, you know, something wrong with him or whatever, and his nerves are not good, so he's having a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Um,
The younger, the
the
midshipman,
older midshipman.
right?
and that guy was caught actually and he was going up to help him or something when it broke.
Oh,
So
right, yeah. You missed that part. So he was up there and he
this
was
is when they
struggling.
start calling him a Jonah and all that.
Right,
It was funny. I was messaging a friend not long after I watched this movie, and he said, "What was the whole Jonah thing?" Because he knows I'm a Christian. I was like, "Oh, well, Jonah was cursed while he was on a ship because he disobeyed God. So that's what they're talking about." He's like, "Oh,
Right.
Yeah,
But
same thing.
he
Yeah.
was supposed to go up to help that guy
Oh,
because he couldn't
this
get
scene
the.
is this scene is terrible.
Oh, yes, it is. It is very terrible.
He
Well, and they're
couldn't-
like, the last 2 times he's been on watch, this thing has come up
Yep.
after us. They're like, this guy's cursed.
And they were superstitious back then because if, like Roman
No,
said,
they
were things. You're gone for months and years on end, and when bad things are happening, whether it be, you know, everything going on, sometimes you just had that superstition a little bit. You
I'm
couldn't
not gonna
help
lie.
yourself.
Sailors are still superstitious.
Yes.
They are. There are still things you don't do at sea. And I know it sounds silly, but unless you've been on a ship for a very long time, it's
Yep.
hard to appreciate why these superstitions are.
Yes. It's something
So,
about
yeah,
the isolation of a smaller community at sea in a dangerous type place with no land around you for miles and miles and miles and miles. You can't even see it. That
This
does
is
something.
funny.
That
And
does something.
probably
to you guys.
like constant exposure to one of the most powerful forces in all of nature, the
Yes.
water.
Yep.
That probably,
and
It's
it's not just
psychologically
the
does
water.
something.
Mhm.
It's the water, it's the environment around. I mean, these guys are right now are an opposite of what I had to deal with. They're down there in freezing waters, and you're still trying to build morale amongst your crew. I was dealing with the opposite, where we had 141 degrees on the flight deck, and I had to keep my guys going so that we could get our mission done. So, like I said, sailors at sea.
Yep.
It's a harsh environment. It's a very tight knit and grind. I had a 29 man crew that I was working with, officers and enlisted. I know I was the guy in the middle, but that's kind of the way it works. And it's a very hard, but incredibly rewarding job if you ever get the chance to do it.
Well, if you think about, it was like Cajun Corey brought up the sports fan. I think it's like that's kind of analogous to it because sports fans as a community, it's like kind of develop similar superstitions about their team, their players, all that stuff. Being on a ship and you all have duties that contribute to the same well-being probably creates a similar mentality.
Here he goes, Jack.
I love this. This is great.
Yeah.
Oh, this is fantastic.
It's like they're going to the
It's
Galapagos.
Galapagos. So this is where they figured out that that ship might be next.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and the doctor is super excited to go there because he can study turtles.
Yes.
all kinds of natural stuff.
Yep, natural science.
Mm-hmm.
Because Darwin.
Here's a piece of
he has a whole
for you.
And what the doctor's been doing, and I don't know if we actually get exposed to it yet, but he has a journal and he's an expert. He's very good at drawing things that he sees.
And he's like, the Acheron for me.
Yes.
Well, the other thing you have to remember is as much as these ships are sailing around out there, there's still a lot of places that people haven't been or they've only been to 1 or 2 times by this point. So
that's a Marine, by the way.
Yes.
The man in the red.
Yeah, the red dude.
He's a Marine.
He's like the
So-
captain of the Marines on board. Yeah.
Yes, that's the Marine officer. So what the Marine Corps was a little bit different in, I mean, both services back in the day. Marines were there to be a military support to the sailors who were actually, you know, manning the guns and doing all that stuff. But the Marines were in charge of if you had to do a ground incursion or if there were a, you know, gun to gun battle, like little guns, not big guns, or if there was a ship to ship
shooters.
fight. That's where the Marines came in.
Yeah,
As well as the sailors, but the Marines were heavily involved in that. Just so that I'm just throwing that out.
Yeah,
there.
they would get into platforms in the topsails and start shooting everybody down on the decks, as well.
So they're singing about Jack getting drunk.
Hang on,
And
sir.
I love his.
Like
It
sailors.
shows his
Roman,
the
right?
cook guy here. He drinks all the leftovers of the
Yeah,
wine.
and that was one of the benefits of being in that position. It was a lot of responsibility, but it had its little perks and benefits.
Yeah, because he wasn't just in charge of the captain's
Later,
food.
Corey.
He was in charge
Later,
of
Corey.
essentially the captain. You make sure his uniforms are good. You make sure his laundry is good. All of these things. You make sure the food in the officer's mess is appropriate. It was a heavy job back then. So
It's almost like if the captain is the father, he's like the mother. At least in this movie,
maybe
I felt
like the
that's
mistress.
a little. Yeah, I mean, it's like he's doing the laundry. He's got his own segment of authority, taking care of the food. It's like a bit motherly.
The Galapagos. You know what is delicious? Turtle.
Is it?
I'm kidding. I've never had turtle. I'm making a joke.
I heard their shells make their own bowls for their soup.
You know, the older the turtle, the better. If you can eat a 200-year-old turtle, I recommend it. Don't eat a 200-year-old turtle. They're
So
endangered. Don't do that. That's completely illegal.
They find whalers that have been attacked by the French ship.
Yeah.
And just as the doctor is going to be able to go the Galapagos, they have to leave.
The whalers would be the villain if made today.
Yeah, that's true
Those
because they were
whalers.
killing animals, and PETA would have a say on that one.
They're the reason
What do you
Willie had to be
want, Bob?
freed
Blah, blah,
3
blah.
times.
These guys are also space whale hunters.
Yeah,
The Purgles,
yeah.
Space whaling.
the far side of
Um,
the galaxy.
Yeah.
I have to watch that later. I'm not looking forward to it.
No, I do too. I have to watch it. Oh my god. Anyway, let's talk about something that we do like Master and Commander.
Yay.
You whale boy, what do you have to say for yourself?
So they have a little fight.
Fuck! We have to leave. You're making me leave the turtles. Why are you making me leave the turtles? I've got this my nice coat on.
Yeah, he says
Language.
Roman,
Sorry.
The children
Roman
are
Ritas.
watching.
Stop it.
Sorry.
So he said that you promised me
Sorry.
that we'd be able to do it, and then he's like, "Hey, the mission comes first," which he should know better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I like
this
that
is
look
their
on his
one
face
tip.
there. He's like,
Ship is
what?
not for your damned hobbies, sir.
Yes, that was such a good line.
And it's such a good line, but you feel all the emotion in behind all this because you can see Captain Jack. He has to be the officer first before a friend, and that's difficult. I mean,
Yeah.
he has
Yeah,
to make that
very.
difficult decision. You can see it in his eyes. Like, of course, he's trying to tell him, you need to see the bigger picture just beyond your, our relationship situation. But it's kind of like and it's difficult because they're best friends. How do you?
And you can
Yeah.
tell he would prefer to keep his word. He would have
Exactly.
preferred to, but can't.
Yeah. And he hates that he has to hurt his friend. That's
Yeah.
I like all of this entire interaction. This is so good. I mean, acting.
Yeah.
What is this? This
Ding.
acting.
What is this dialogue? Why am I enjoying this? What's happening?
What's happening? Why is this so
What
good?
is this feeling of quality?
So it's
Why are
like-
my sideburns slightly longer than they should be?
It's called mutton chops, right?
And he's like pouting. He's pouting now.
Yes, that's a pout. That's a British pout.
Well, technically he's
Just
Irish.
have some tea. It'll be fine.
Whatever.
Here's a potato. Go back to your room.
Hey, Gourd. Everybody likes potatoes.
That's true. But the Irish really like potatoes.
Yeah, I resemble it.
And this kid's so nice. He's like, look, here's a bug. It must be from the Galapagos.
He gives him a beat. Wait, we're frozen on the sideburns.
I call him Ringo.
Yes, Ringo. Ringo the beetle.
Yes.
No, we don't see the bug, Jacob.
Okay, fine.
No, we're stuck on sideburns
There
right
he
now.
is. There's the bug.
No, it's still stuck on sideburns. You
No,
need to
still
pop in.
sideburns, my friend.
Still
Why are you calling Paul
sideburns.
Bettany a beetle?
Beetle. StreamYard. What is going
Hey,
on?
Jack. Hey, Jack.
We should just yell StreamYard every time there's an issue because they're
Hey.
they're acting up for everybody right now.
Since when
Why
have they
do I
never
have-
acted up?
How exciting.
no.
Why
Looking
do I
forward to
have
that.
the sideburns of a beetle?
It's not bad enough I have to endure in Ahsoka. I have to endure it at like 4 times the speed. That's horrible.
And then with alcohol
There.
involved, Roman, that's like 5 hours later.
I can't take responsibility for what my drinking does to me. Oh, there it is.
There's the beetle.
There's a
And the beetle's
Ringo!
like, I do like your sideburns, sir.
I love the fact that the boy finds a beetle to help cheer him
And
up.
cares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The characters,
so-
though, the characters in this are so strong.
it's nice.
I
Even
know.
like your semi-side characters are just very strong.
And you know what's really great too is that he's a little boy, and yes, there's a boy and he technically a man in that time period, but he still has boyish
Yeah,
sentiment.
he's still 12.
No,
He's still 12. He still has boyish sentiment, but he's still real, like, so he understands relationships. But I love his commanding stances and everything. Like, he just looks like a leader. Definitely,
he
looks like a
does.
leader.
They do a very nice job with that when he's
Yes.
turning to go back and be the young officer that he's going to be. He looks like the young officer.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's not the kid.
Yeah.
He's not the kid giving the doctor a beetle.
I think it's
Did-
interesting that he's kind of becomes almost an amalgam of Crow's character and Bettany's character. Because I mean, like even with the book thing, like he gives him the book about Lord Nelson at the beginning, and then later in the movie, he's using the books that Bettany's character is using. It's like I like how they use that, and he kind of becomes a
Yeah.
mashup of those two.
Yep. Understanding
I like
relationships
this
with your crew, but
impress-
also being a leader at the same time.
He in essence becomes kind of the fighting naturalist he alluded to.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love
Yeah.
that. It's so
Yeah,
cool.
right. I love the whole canon training scene. It was great.
Yeah. Star Wars could use some canon training.
Oh no, Mando, don't say anything. No, Mando, no. So I can't even read your comment.
No.
All I can see is episode 5, and it's like no.
I haven't seen it, Mano. Don't say anything.
It'll spoil itself to me soon enough.
Yes.
So this actor here in the middle, okay, this is funny to me, but I knew I recognized him from somewhere. So my parents watched a lot of like those cheesy, like faith-based movies. He was in a couple of those. He was in a couple of those, like
with Kirk Cameron.
it was adjacent to the Kirk Cameron ones. Like it wasn't
Ah.
like Left Behind. It was like one of the other ones that were made by the same people.
Well, if it's Kirk Cameron adjacent,
Cancel him. How dare he?
It's like, and they're all just talking about this dude. Like, yeah, he was there on watch when it started.
Yep.
yep, and he didn't go up to his friend needed help to
Mhm.
secure the rigging, and he just froze and
Oh
didn't go
yeah,
up there.
this is bad juju all around right now.
This too.
Oh, and he
So
gets
you're
the
supposed-
shoulder.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to salute. Like that.
Right, you're
old
supposed to
guy
show
said.
respects when a superior officer walks by. And what they would do back then is if you didn't have a hat, you would tug on the lock of your hair
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
to like, it's like an imaginary kind of hat.
Well,
Right.
To
it's
show
a sign of yes. It's a
Right,
sign
right,
of
right. It's
respect.
like a proto salute.
Right.
Yeah.
And but it was something that even civilian people knew how to do to like lords and governors and people of authority. You would do that to show respect when they came by.
Yeah. And like
He's
the
also
modern salute,
this
you
guy.
know, the modern salute is based on tipping your hat. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what that is.
And this guy's been drinking too, so drinking didn't make you think very well.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he has an attitude now because his
Well,
buddy
because
got
he had to cut his friend loose,
yeah.
literally.
And he does the bump. He actually gives him a bump when he walks by him. It's
Yep,
not
and of
like he
course
just doesn't salute him.
and of
He
course
bumps into him.
yeah, exactly. And then Captain Jack is like, we can't have this because
Well,
if one
no.
bad egg has an attitude, then everybody has an
Discipline.
attitude.
right.
Yeah.
But if you notice, he waited for the midshipman to actually say something.
Yeah.
It's only when he didn't that he was like, "Hey, get that dude! You know, you can't let him do this."
Yeah, because he didn't let because if the midshipman had done the right thing, it should have solved the problem on its own.
Yeah, he would have if
Right.
he had immediately admonished him like he was supposed to.
Yep.
Yeah.
He
A
would have
lot of
hemmed
this
him
could have
up.
been
Yeah.
fixed.
Hey,
Yep.
A lot of it could have been fixed if he
but he's a weak
acted like
he's a weak
yeah,
person,
if he
Yeah.
acted like a man, but he's
a
weak,
terrible leader, a weak person.
a weak person and very
And that's why there's separation of rank. If he had kept that separation, it probably wouldn't have been as bad.
I can tell you the Navy takes that real serious.
yes. Yeah, they
compared
do.
to because the Air Force, you don't usually hang out with officers and stuff, but they don't really have that rule with between the enlisted ranks. So when you go out to like eat at a dining facility, you'll see E6s, E7s, E8s, E9s in there eating with the regular troops. Where in the Navy, they don't do that. They have totally different either tables or whole and different establishments. Because I went
True.
TDY to Rota one time, and we all walked in off the flight line and sat down to eat. And one of the guy running the dining facility came over and be like, "Hey, you're senior NCOs," and we had an officer with us. Like, you guys can't sit together here. And we were like, "What?" I'd never heard of that before. But so yeah, they really
They do take
adhere
it
to that.
seriously.
Yeah, they take it very seriously. And
This guy played Mr. Mole in Wind in the Willows series.
And I did check. He is Stan Shunpike in Harry Potter.
So we find out
Huh.
that this guy's, failed his, exams twice, and he's 30 years old, and
yeah,
Which at this
Why
point
are
he
you
should be a
such a
captain or
bad
a second
leader?
mate or something. Yeah.
right, you figure he's the same rank as 12-year-old kids.
No, he
And-
should have picked up his commission by now, his
Right,
actual
yeah.
commission.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
You should be a lieutenant by now, certainly. I'm sorry, sir. I suck at my job. Ah, good. That's fantastic, Mister. I suck at my job. Now you have to flog Mister. I bumped into you. But I don't
Yeah.
want to, sir. Well, you're going to, sir.
That's right, people. That's line for line how it's read.
Don't be a ninny, sir.
Don't
And
be a
this
ninny.
guy, now I don't know, maybe he became a midshipman at an older age somehow or another.
I don't think he did, Shieldwall. I think he's just always been very mediocre and he's just not good.
He's
And so
very
he's probably been lingering here for a very long time because that they allowed that to happen back then. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess I'm putting like in modern day military.
Yeah,
they
you
would've
can't
cut him
put
loose
modern
long-
term. Yeah,
They
you
would have
can't
cut
do
him
that
loose
with
a long
this
time ago.
service.
Yeah, he would have hit higher tenure and been out.
well. It's not like
Yes.
it's not like they can just drop him off right now because they've probably been out at sea.
No,
for
no.
two-
What I
like
mean
2 or
though,
3
if
years.
he's
Well, they're also
pushing,
in the Galapagos.
if he's
yes.
pushing 30, they would have booted him out of there a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was my thinking, but maybe he's
But
connected.
remember, there's not
Yeah.
an academy. Normally, he would have gone through the academy, and then he would have gotten his commission
Yeah.
and been in the fleet. But he's just
This is the
big
academy.
dummy and big dumb
Getting-
guy who got
Yeah, getting
his initial training
getting
isn't in
put-
the fleet.
getting
Yeah.
put on the ship. That's the academy at
Yeah.
this time.
And he's
not
and
like-
they tell you he's otherwise
Exactly.
proficient. He's otherwise good at what he does. It's just he is not a leader at all.
He's
And the
not a
thing-
leader.
And the thing is,
But you
in the reality check, it's not like you had modern ports and embassies everywhere to drop him off so he can go back home and fly over. No, you're gone at sea, and you may be in enemy territory for long periods of time. So it's not like you could get rid of your crew that way. You had to depend
Right.
on every single one of that crew, no matter who the weak link is or the strongest leader is.
I wanted
You
to.
had
Oh,
you didn't have a choice.
sorry. I just wanted to go back and show this. This is
a
what is this
gorgeous
called? The
shot.
doldrum.
It is. It's beautiful. Even though
Yeah,
it's,
when there's no
My
wind, it's called the
God.
doldrums, and
Yep.
Yep.
they can't move because
No,
without the wind.
sails are dead. And if I mean, again, having been at sea before, remember they don't have engines, so you look out, and if you and the sea is as smooth as glass. For us in the modern age, it's no big deal. It's exactly the same. Maybe it's
Yeah.
easier, in fact, but for them, that was not good, not a good thing. And now here is Mr. Bumped into you, gets the flogging because he bumped into Mr.
midshipman.
Right,
midshipman,
and they have to do
mediocre
that
midshipman.
public punishment, and it has to be something that everyone's going to fear.
Yes, and this like I said, flogging was not taken lightly because it hurt.
And it could get
And-
infected, and you could die
Yeah.
from it.
You could die.
Yeah.
I hadn't
Oh, look
noticed
at
this
poor
before, but
Pippin in the middle there. He's terrified.
This guy's got tattoos of chains around his back.
Yeah, he's getting ink done.
Yeah, that's
He's getting a
What a
cracking.
cool
put on him.
touch, in a movie to show something.
Well,
like
plus
that.
two, there's nothing better to do. I mean,
No.
they're stuck
Yeah.
at sea.
Wait, was that a goat?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Yep.
because they had goats for milk and stuff.
At
and
the first
stuff.
bit, they show they show
Oh God, Roman, keep that off of this.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
at the beginning of it, they show some livestock. They actually have a cow.
Yeah, they have a
Shit,
cow. They
yeah.
got chickens with
Yeah.
eggs. Didn't when they were in port, weren't they winching new animals up too? Like
think
on a
so,
crane
yeah.
or something. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, they would. So yeah, I mean, yeah, the bigger ships of this era, even some of the smaller ones, at least had some livestock on board for it's keeping things moving along. So the crew had food.
Yeah. And
Hey,
this
what's up,
poor guy,
Steven? Yep.
walks through
Steven.
the.
Yes, 100%,
Hey,
Stephen.
Steven. Welcome. And this poor guy walks through the crew here, and they're like,
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah, we'll salute you
yeah.
now. And it's like,
Yeah, Mr. A-hole. Here's your
But they
salute,
do
Mr.
it. They all do
A-hole.
it so in such a direct way. It's just like the pressure is just building on him.
and has a panic attack.
Yeah.
Help me! Help me!
And the thing was, is he would have let that guy bump him like that and just kept going. But and then it was the captain that demanded the punishment, rightly so. And
Yes.
then these guys are still they're 12, so they don't see like that he's struggling with something. They're just in there playing around,
Yeah.
like 12-year-olds because they're off duty.
Well, and they also
he's-
they
yeah.
have that superstition that he's cursed, and he kind of feels like these guys are going to kill me because they're going to want me off the ship, or they're blaming me for what's happening.
So he listens to all this, talking about he's a Jonah.
Aye. And there's Mr. Mediocre Midshipman. We don't like that one. That one's going to bring death to us all.
He's a Jonah.
And you do in a way though, at the end of this particular scene,
Yes, that's Jarvis, Stephen Ransom.
it's you do feel sorry. You do have a sense of a little bit of, because we all don't like him either as an audience, but then all of a sudden you get this incredible guilt of
Well, he was in over his head.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I
And
mean,
he
I
probably
I
didn't
felt
put himself in that
sympathetic towards
position.
him. I felt sympathetic towards him, but it was more like pity.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just kind of a sense of pity. It's like, yeah, this guy's
Yeah.
not good at what he does. He's not
Mhm.
fit, but he doesn't necessarily
Right.
deserve what
Yeah,
how
exactly.
he's being treated.
Exactly. And then his decision right there. You can see it in
Uh.
his face.
Yeah, he picks up a
Grabs a cannonball.
Yeah.
And I love how he says, "You've always been kind to me." To oh gosh, I forgot the boy's name. Um,
Little Lord Fauntleroy.
yeah,
The
exactly.
Little Lord One Arm.
Yeah. But he and then because he has been, but he hasn't. He hasn't.
Blatantly.
is his name.
But he's
Oh,
always been
wow.
encouraging him to do better
He's all
and be a
grown up
better
now.
man, and
I
he
just
clearly
think
looked
hasn't.
that kid up on IMDb, and he's not a kid anymore.
Yeah. Oh
No,
my
he
gosh.
was
He
in
got
Rome.
he got older.
That same, yeah, the little kid with one arm
He
ended
didn't
up being
say
in
that,
Rome
though.
on
Oh my
HBO a couple
gosh.
years later, playing a young Augustus Caesar.
Well, it's interesting that this is the last person in season because we brought up that he's older and yet can't rise up, and you have this young person who is kind to him but is very suited to
Yes.
make the rank and everything. He's far
Yeah.
more qualified despite his age.
And so this guy
It's this
says
fascinating
goodbye,
contrast between them.
and he jumps over.
Yeah.
Gourd.
And
Ooh,
lets the
And he
sea
thinks
take him.
that's terrible. That's
That
it. That's
is.
a just gut wrenching thing to
Hmm.
watch him go under willingly and
Yeah.
just sink into the depths, into the darkness.
And they
This
have
guy.
their service for him.
That
He
kid is
hands the
34
Bible.
now.
Yeah.
Mark
look,
or
he
Max
was-
Purkis.
he's only a year younger than me. Wow.
You're
So,
getting
see,
ideas.
Gourd, stop. I love how the captain looks at the book that they're the passage that they chose, and he's like, "This is inappropriate.
Really, guys?
It's
Really?
This
Really?
this is highly
gonna-
inappropriate right now." Yeah.
I really like the speech that he gives
Mhm.
Yes.
for this. It's really good. It's well balanced. He's
Jonah. Nope.
Yeah. It's like, guys, really? Come on.
but where
I
he
will
talks
give you- I will
about
be giving you a swift kick later.
how sometimes we don't show the people the kindness that we should, and that sometimes we don't always turn out how we thought we were going to turn out.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was along those lines. It was really good,
Yeah.
and it made everybody there feel like crap.
Feel bad.
Rightly
Yes.
so, the way they treated him. But then the wind picks up, and they're like, "All right, let's do it." He's like, "Yeah, God be praised."
He-
And
It's like he almost gets a twinge of maybe he was a Jonah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
because it's
exactly.
like this is where the movie kind of makes it pretty plain that
Yeah,
there is kind
it's
of
a turn.
supernatural undertone to it because
Mhm.
he's like, he asks for forgiveness and then the wind kicks in. And it's
Right.
Like, okay. And then he's
Yep.
like, God be
It's like
praised.
raining.
like so that
Everybody's
the superstition and the way he was treated was bad and unfortunate, but kind of they weren't wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that just reinforced the entire and it
Yeah,
starts
so
raining.
it's like God's telling him, it's like you've got someone who's going to be a problem. It's like we're gonna
Oh, this scene. It's like,
this guy.
let's do some hunting. It's like dips down and
That's my bird.
And he just feels so bad.
It's like, dude, it's like Alec Baldwin much? My gosh.
And the fact
You
that
shot
he hits
the freaking doctor.
doctor. I know the fact that the doctor gets shot, and oh gosh, this is
and his backup guy is like squeamish of blood.
Yeah.
and it is really interesting though that look at Captain Jack. He's like, oh my
Yep.
god.
I'm so screwed.
The character studies of these different characters is great too, because here's this guy, he's kind of in this position, he's just like his assistant or whatever, but now he's thrust into where he's got to like come through for him,
Yeah.
right?
He's got to learn the basics of surgery like right now.
Right. And
Yeah,
so
right.
if you've ever been in a position where something happens and then you're it, but you don't really have the training for it, but maybe you should, you know what I mean? And the
You lied in
expectation
your
is,
resume, but you still got the
well,
job.
it's not that. It's just that maybe your career trajectory, some people in your position would know what to do and others wouldn't, depending, but it's kind of a gray area. And now,
Well,
but it's on you, you know?
Shieldwall, it's not. You can't. You might be looking at it at a modern lens. A lot of them were not experts in surgery because it was kind of still barbaric and brand new, and it's not like it's not like universities today where it's handed out like
I mean,
candy type situation.
this
And
was
this is
this
this
was
is
pretty much a
yeah,
step
you didn't have too
away
many
from.
you
No,
had actual
Well,
I got
specialists.
that point. Like, I'm not expecting him to
this,
know how to do surgery. What I'm saying is
Yeah.
the position that he's in, where he's now expected to do these things with little to no training. But because he was his assistant, he might have some expectation of
yeah,
knowledge pushed on him. And now he's got a lot of pressure on him because of that. If he was just a
yeah.
crew member that said, "Hey, can you give it a shot?" And if something went wrong, they'd be like, "Nah, he didn't know what he was doing." This guy is kind of supposed to know what's happening, but he's not the doctor. So no one's expecting him to be the doctor, but he's got that pressure of being the doctor put
I
on him.
mean,
It's what I'm
Especially because if
yeah.
anything, if
they
he
were.
dies, he's like, you're next in line for
Well,
all
I
the
guess
rest
what I'm saying
too.
is that some people, you can identify, you can see this character in real life in other people,
Mhm.
or maybe even in yourself, depending on
Yeah.
what's going on. What
And
I'm saying
that's
is
That's the
that
thing too.
he's a
This
real character. He's not
they
just
were
some.
right,
in
Yeah.
this
right. And
time
it's
period.
not
They were.
something that everybody was an expert in surgery, because you have to have the subject matter or subjects, to be quite honest, to have
Yeah.
surgery on. And
Right.
they didn't have as many of those types of doctors. So probably Paul Bettany's character is highly expertise in this field, but his assistants, he might have rudimentary or basic understanding of biology and
Right.
that of that time period, because you could tell
Yep.
from the book that he shows, there are pictures there, and it's very to us it seems barbaric because it doesn't even seem like it's correct.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
he says
They
that
were.
he
They
needs
were
to look at the.
using. They were
Go
still
ahead, Jacob.
using leeches to
Yes,
relieve sickness.
exactly. The
Because
medicine then is not modern medicine.
Yeah.
No.
he says in this scene, he's got to read the book to get his bearings, to figure
Yes.
out where he needs to go in the body.
Yeah.
It's like Captain Jack. This is beyond my skill to heal. He needs elvish medicine.
Oh my god.
Yeah. We need.
He needs elvish medicine.
We
Oh
can
gosh,
get it on
Stephen
the
Ransom says,
Galapagos.
I'm an assistant, not a doctor, Jim.
Yes. They'll take him back to the Galapagos where there's some elves.
That's right. Didn't they still do
Exactly.
bloodletting for headaches too back then?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, George Washington, he was sick, and before he died, and they put leeches on him to think, oh, it'll suck out the sickness.
Depending on what was going on with you, the reason that they kept using leeches is because for some things they actually worked, because
Yeah.
of the saliva that they would produce would thin your blood. So it would be like blood thinners. So there are certain instances where the blood thinning would actually be beneficial. It's the blood letting where they just cut you and drained you into a bowl. That was no
Yeah.
good.
Right.
Oh gosh.
And yet it was
I'm
practiced
screaming
for
at
like
that.
3,000 years too.
Right.
Yeah.
The blood
Bloodletting was
letting,
around
right.
for a long time.
Yeah. But there are people that have been doing research recently, for a long time about the benefits of leeches and also maggots.
Because they eat a lot
Yeah.
of dead tissue.
Right. They only
so-
eat dead tissue.
Yeah.
So they grow them like pharmacologically, like 5 or 6 generations in a sterile environment, maggot,
Yeah.
and then feed them special stuff so that when you get it, then they put them in bandages and put it on people with wounds that won't heal, and they'll
Yeah,
eat
they
all
won't
that
get
stuff out of
infections
there,
and
right?
stuff,
And then
yeah.
it'll heal it up. They come out of there all nice and fat.
So this is just incredible. This scene too. He does the surgery himself in a mirror.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Ugh. Ugh.
They
Like,
stole this scene. They stole this scene for like the first season of Lost. They told
When was the first season of Lost?
2005, I want to say.
Oh, this is a 2003 movie. So no.
No, I didn't say from Lost. They
They
stole
stole
it for Lost.
Oh,
Lost.
I was
Yeah,
like, wait a
yeah,
minute.
yeah.
I'm gonna defend this movie. What are you
Yeah,
doing?
no.
Gord?
Okay, no, take that back. It was 2004 that Lost came out. So yeah, year later they did this in Lost.
Yeah,
they stole it for it.
Yep.
Ah.
JJ
interesting.
coming up with something like not
JJ was a
original, yeah.
hack at the very beginning.
Yep.
Oh,
Who
Gord,
would've
you're
thought?
right.
and look, and in the middle of it, the guy, the mirror moves off, and he's like, "Mirror, please."
like,
Mirror.
Because he's
Please.
lifting his
Mirror.
rib at the
Because this
same
guy
time.
can't really. He's not very smart.
Yeah. Well, he's watching a guy cut his gut open, sort of.
In Hot Fuzz terms, he's Lurtz. Yarp. That's his station. He's that kind of
Mirror.
simple.
No, sorry. Just,
Mirror. Batman reference.
yes.
And
Yeah, this
they
scene's
show
pretty
this
rough.
in the mirror where he reaches in and pulls it out, and
Yeah.
he's got to get the patch out of there.
Yeah.
Because when the bullet went in, it tore the cloth.
Well, they have
He's
to get
just-
he has to get everything out, or else
Yep.
there'll be an infection.
Yeah, get
Mhm.
infected.
He's
Yeah.
just holding a iPad in a mirror frame.
Yeah. Yep.
Eye surgery.
Too bad he's not in the Ahsoka show. He'd be fine.
Yeah.
They just shove a
Just,
lightsaber in
he'd
there.
walk it
real
off.
quick.
He'd be
Yeah.
all right. It's like,
Nah,
oh, you
just
got
shove
shot
a
in the side. Big deal.
It's hey
lightsaber.
guys, this is a perfect time to say tis a flesh wound.
Exactly.
Tis but a flesh wound.
I ran it under a cold tap.
And then he matches up the patch, and it totally
Yeah.
fits. So there's nothing left in there.
This is another scene where I'm just like, gosh, this is a hard PG-13. It's a rough. There's a lot of scenes in this where I'm like, gosh, they got away with a lot for PG-13.
Yeah, but the what they're
It wasn't
showing.
grotesque though. It
No, it wasn't grotesque at all. It's just, but
Right.
here's the thing: Return of the King also got away with a lot. So you
Yeah.
could argue that if Peter Weir, if he had seen that or gotten a look at that, he's like, hey, if they get away with it, this is PG-13 too.
But see, this wasn't gratuitous either. It
Oh,
was,
no,
there
not
was
at all.
purpose to
Not at
it,
all.
and it wasn't like cruel or whatever.
But I mean, there's war movies where the violence
Yeah.
isn't gratuitous and they still get an R rating. But I'm like, and this toes the line, obviously. But it's like,
Yeah,
so
I mean,
pretty.
This
pretty
this
tough
isn't
stuff.
Rambo 5,
No, no.
which
This
was
guy's relieved
best
now.
Rambo.
So
I know. I love it when he feels so much better about it.
Well, yeah, he genuinely feels bad that he shot him.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Like,
this
he's
dude, see,
slightly
with
off
the
the
old
hook.
guy, right? He's interested and cares because the doctor saved him.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. So he goes on walkabout on Galapagos.
There's some big turtles.
Yep.
They're a couple years from learning ninjutsu.
Yep.
They haven't really invented pizza yet.
That's true.
Well, at least not, like the American style.
Nah.
So he's like, he sees this bird, and he sees the ship.
He sees the Acheron,
There
and
they
yeah,
are.
it's ported on the other side of the island. So he's like, damn it, because he knows that he has to go back and tell the captain.
I love because they create this little subplot with him chasing the flightless bird while Jack is chasing this ship, and while he's chasing the flightless bird, he comes upon the ship. I thought that
It's
was
Frodo
a
and
nice
Sam.
little. It's like poetry. It rhymes. No.
It's Frodo and Sam.
Yeah, but taller.
And they wound up having to leave all of they had cages full of animals, so he had to open them up to let the animals out. And there was like a scene of that, like all the sacrifices that he makes just to get back in order to tell the captain.
Yeah. And I love this bit too. They show him the walking stick. And it's like it's
Also-
a bug that disguises itself as a stick. And it's like
That
he
gives him
gets
an
a,
idea.
One thing to mention is the
Eureka
music for the movie and how it plays with each scene is so good.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
phenomenal.
And I'm not just talking about like the captain and the doctor playing their instruments. I mean, like the background music and everything.
he's like, oh, that gives me an idea.
Yep, it's a phasimid. It's a bug that disguises itself as a stick.
Well, yeah, I have to ask because a lot of tracks from this score I've heard used numerous times. Is this movie the originator of all of this music?
Yeah, most
No,
likely,
it-
yes.
it-
Yeah, because the music for this
Oh,
gets
yeah,
used
some
a
of it
lot.
is taken from what is it? Old folk music, but they
Okay.
kind of rewrote it for this movie. Is what I got from reading it.
Okay.
But
So to answer
it's
your
not being
question,
pulled
yes
from
and no.
other movies though.
No, no.
No, yeah.
So they disguised the ship as a whaler. We're gonna hunt some space whales.
Wait a minute. That would mean them releasing all the animals of cages. That's like Canto Bite then. No.
And I love how they, the whalers they picked up earlier are part of the attack too. I thought that was cool.
I
Yeah.
know, it's great. Well, because they want revenge too. And in a way, they have to fight for England.
Well,
So
also the Acheron has their crew members on like in a brig or whatever.
Mhm.
right.
We're gonna disguise our ship as a giant stick.
Yes.
Yeah, here he's giving out all
All right,
their
I had to
tasks and
disguise
orders.
myself as a giant stick to come back out here. So
I'm just a ship disguised as a bug, disguised as a ship.
Yeah, dude disguised as a dude playing another dude.
What do you mean, you vessels?
You
I
know,
love
you know what
they
I like.
renamed the ship too.
You know what I like about the whole relationship between like Paul Bettany and I can't remember his character's name, but
Jack Aubrey.
thank you, Jack Aubrey. It's and of course Captain Jack. I love the fact that it's like a good payoff because remember when they fought over the Galapagos and then of course he gets
Right.
shot and he goes back and then of course he sees the Acheron and he's like, I gotta. Yes, it's
the juxtaposition. Yes.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
so good because it
Oh, yeah.
tells you their relationship is still there and they still respect one another and honor what they're doing.
No,
So,
and the doctor makes the sacrifice for the mission.
yes,
He does
Right.
exactly the thing that the captain
does.
had asked him to do because the mission. He gets it. He gets
Yeah.
it. That's
Yeah.
And
beautiful.
also, and
You're
well, and
right.
also
It's
Captain
It's
Jack.
beautiful.
Well, and Captain Jack made the sacrifice for him earlier too.
Yeah,
by
for him to
bringing
have
him-
surgery.
Yeah, right.
Right. And by the way, the doctor, by the way, his name is Stephen.
Yeah, Stephen Martin.
Yeah.
Also
Or some
in this
pronunciation.
in
of
this
Martin.
scene, the captain comes and he tells the midshipman that when they board the other ship, he's to remain behind because he's only got one arm for a minute, but he's going to be in charge.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a
Yeah, he's
12-year-old
captain.
Of the ship,
is
yes.
going to be captain of the ship, basically.
Yeah.
He's like, yes.
And it's so because at first he was going to be he was a little down about not being able to board.
Right, he
but,
was going to go on the boarding party, right?
But
where
he's
wanted to be.
he's the one that's going to have to take care of the ship. He's responsible
Yes.
for the entire ship. That's great.
Which is why he's so happy now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's just more great leadership on Jack's part. It's like,
It is because
he
Jack
has to-
knows that young man is a natural leader.
yeah.
Yes. And not only
And
that,
he
you
is
see
capable of doing it.
you see how he was telling the rest of the crew member, the little boy was telling the rest of the crew members exactly what to do and what to hide and everything. Look at him; he's telling them what to do, and they respect him.
Oh
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's a natural leader. That's
Yeah.
something that I don't think gets enough credit in you can train someone for their entire life and they won't be a natural leader.
No.
Oh.
There
Either
are
are or
certain,
you are not.
there are
Takes a
certain leadership-
personality.
There are certain leadership traits that you can hone through training, but they got to be there. But you can
Yeah.
Yes.
amplify them with training.
Mhm.
But if they're not there, they're not there.
Right, exactly. But I mean, that's why they have different schools that you go to as you progress through your career.
And that's why they also have attrition because of years that you have not made
Yeah.
certain rank.
That's why certain ranks are only 2 or 1%.
His speech
Of
here
the
is great
force.
too.
Oh yeah.
It's a good speech here. He's like, for England and for the prize. And two, I love what they renamed the ship to Siren.
Yeah. That was great. That was a nice touch. Because the sirens were
I
used to
like- I
lure
like
in
this
Greek
part, too.
mythology.
Yep.
He gives him some, I guess, coffee, and he's like, "There's 2 lumps in there." He's like, "Oh, thank you."
3 lumps. Gave him
Oh,
3
3
lumps.
lumps. That's right.
Yeah.
3 lumps.
That's a lot because
Mhm.
sugar, again, sugar was
Yes.
sugar was very important. It was a very important
Valuable.
and very expensive thing.
Yeah.
So,
And coffee too.
oh yeah, coffee. It's not like today where you have a Starbucks in every corner.
What?
Oh.
There wasn't a Starbucks down in
Starbucks.
Argentina.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Come on,
The
Roman.
Galapagos turtles weren't at the counter going,
yeah.
Come on, Roman, come on, you
want a
remember.
grande? Do you want a
They,
treat?
they didn't have they
Need a
didn't have
need a mocha frappuccino or something.
exactly pumpkin spice. He wants it to be a grande.
Like that? I prefer chocolate if I want
The
something.
tension building
Fattening
here is
like
great
that.
too.
Oh, it is.
I love-
Yeah, because everything is low key. Everybody's trying to be quiet and just kind of keep your heads down.
And nothing
Oh,
is
this is-
overdone.
this is great.
Nothing is
I love this. I
overdone.
love this playing chicken stuff
Yeah.
going on. It's great. Anyway, go ahead, Gourd. I didn't.
No, I was just saying. The thing I probably appreciated not necessarily most, but very much was just nothing was overdone. None of the dialogue to build up tension was overdone. None of the music was overdone. Everything was just trusting you to take it in and to understand the circumstances. I loved that.
No, I agree. Yeah, they don't have to overstate things so that
Yeah.
you, the dumb audience, understand what's happening. They did a very nice job of that. Yeah, that's perfect, dude.
Yeah, I still don't think the audience today, the general audience today, is as dumb as Hollywood thinks. I mean, are there certainly more dumber? Are there dumber people now?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
then
because all they do is listen to dumb people
all
Mhm.
the time.
that
Yeah,
all the time. Right. Those are the loudest voices are the dumbest ones. So that's who they make.
or
their
they're
movies
terminally
for.
online.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like I said, the most people that they hear are the dumbest ones.
And
But
they
this
never
is,
show
this
the
is
captain's
such a
face.
good.
He's always
Oh my
got
gosh.
he's always got something in front of his face. The French captain.
Yeah.
And there's the
Oh
siren.
yeah, that's smart.
You know what? You know what's really interesting though? Here's another payoff. The ship's name is Surprise, and
Mhm.
here they're doing a surprise.
It finally lives up to it because it starts by being surprised.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
it lives up to
And
its
it's
name by the
luring.
end.
Exactly.
It's
Isn't it
luring.
isn't it great? All these little details and
Yeah.
payoffs.
It's such
Uh,
a well-crafted film. Oh
that
my
just
gosh.
that reminds me.
I love this.
I was playing a game with somebody at pen and paper thing, and something happened, and they're like, "Oh, you're surprised," and it's natural surprise, and the guy says, "Well, I'm immune." And he's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, I'm immune to natural surprise." And he's like, "But this isn't natural surprise." He's like, "Yeah, but naturally, I would be surprised this happened, so I'm immune to it." We're like, it doesn't work that way.
It's like an
I love
Abbott and
this-
Costello
I love this
sketch.
part too. It's like,
Yeah.
let fly.
Who's
Yep.
surprised? I'm surprised.
And
Yeah,
because
see, those guys in the
and
top
because she's a
sails.
smaller
Yeah,
ship, she had this is her only biggest opportunity to do something to a larger
Yep.
ship.
right. Yeah, it's
So
basically an ambush. But yeah, see, those guys threw off that cloth, and now they're up in the top sails on these little platforms, and they can shoot
The
down on the
Marines.
deck, and they can look for officers. That'd be their primary targets: officers and anybody important.
Yeah,
Like,
screws up the chain of command of the deck,
Yeah,
so things
yeah.
don't run the way it's supposed to.
And these
And now they're
French guys are
broadsiding
like,
them. This is the broadside that I was talking about.
Yeah. And the
Whoops.
battle sequences are just so
Oh,
fantastic.
brilliant.
I've watched several videos where like historians like break down battles in movies, and this one always gets like the highest marks. Like I've never heard any of them complain about this. They're like, this is amazing.
You know, the side-by-side comparison, you really do get a good understanding of how much smaller Surprise is
Mhm.
than her opponent.
look at how
And
much
it
look at
really
how much
gives you
smoke there is from
smoke,
one
you know,
broadside
the smoke.
exchange.
Yep.
It's crazy.
And I love that there's like a little calm.
Yeah, it's like the cannon creates its own fog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of another callback to the beginning.
Yep, exactly.
And they
And-
went for the rigging because
And they
that's
got to
what
the
you
main
do.
mast.
Yep.
The main
Knock
mast is
down the
important.
main mast.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the size of comparison to the ships, how tiny the Surprise is to Acheron. It's like, look at it. It's a
Also,
little baby ship.
Acheron probably had double the crew.
Oh
Yeah.
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 Double the crew, double the cannon shoots and everything.
Probably
so-
what, 4 sails instead of 3? Or
Mhm.
4 masts instead of 3?
Probably. And then the side sails too.
Yeah, she had a lot more capability. But you take down your main mast, you're screwed.
David
And
has
then-
cast
Back
his
down.
stones at Goliath.
And they're going to swing around the back and do like a reverse crossing the T.
Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun,
Dun,
dun.
dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah.
You're all thinking Star Trek. I'm thinking Cable Guy.
I like how a lot of us on here are searching.
Yeah.
Then they board, and the hand-to-hand
go.
fighting
This is
ensues. This is
great.
phenomenal too.
Yeah,
You gotta look at that shot. Man,
watch some.
just the side
guys-
by side with the ships.
Even
is beautiful.
the I guess what's crafted there on that ship looks devilish there.
Yep.
That's really cool
Yeah.
too. I only just really
It's
realized
kind
that.
of
I
like
watched a video of guys showing how they fought on these ships, and because it's such close quarters, the fighting is totally different from out in the open. And
Right, yeah.
you have to continue going forward. If you stop,
Yeah, there's
and
no
try to go
wild
back,
swinging side to
die.
side kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you didn't have
They
much
all
of a,
play possum here.
you didn't have much of a choice. You had to push forward, and
yeah.
if a man is
And
down
everybody
in front
fought.
of you, then it goes down in front of you. Then you have to push him out of the way and keep going.
This guy's like, well, looks like the job's done.
Oh
Famous
no.
last words.
Yep.
Yeah, dummy. Possums. Yeah, he wasn't very smart.
Takes a
Man, he
takes
gets
a ball to the head.
he gets domed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Boom.
360 no scope.
Yeah.
There goes the oldest member of the fleet.
I mean, this is a pretty intense scene, and
Oh,
especially with the
yeah.
music on top of it. Like, you don't know if anybody. You can't with all the smoke and anything. It's sometimes it's
Yeah.
hard to tell who's British and who's French.
And
I also
there-
don't
oh,
think
yeah,
that the
that's- it's
score doesn't
pure.
get enough the score doesn't get enough credit.
Yeah, oh
the,
yeah.
By a
the
long
chaos, the chaos is excellent, and the fact that there really is no plot armor in this movie, so you don't really know who's gonna make it. It's like, yeah, you get the
No.
sense that the heroes will win probably because everything. It's like they've done their job successfully here, but it's like there's gonna
But-
be casualties, and you don't know who they will be.
Right. And yeah, they rolled those
Hitler
knows how to
those
fight.
little
He's good.
grenades down.
For the Shire.
I know. Where's my long bottom feet at? Yeah.
The salted pork was particularly good.
And then they threw these smoke bombs down there. Yeah.
And I love this kid. They shoot at the ship, and he's like, "We have to board them."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the kid is in charge.
he takes charge. I mean,
Oh,
it's
well, yeah,
just-
first because he aims the cannons down at them.
well,
at
because
theirs.
he sees them some of them trying to do the same thing to the ship,
Right.
and
They're
he's
trying
like,
to
and then it's like a face off between cannon and cannon. And he shoots like it's just that kid's awesome. I love him to death.
He doesn't hesitate for a second, and they picked a good enough actor to where it's like you believe it. You totally
and
believe it.
the doctor who's supposed to be do no harm and he's not really a pacifist, but it's not his job. But he's a gentleman, so he knows how to fence,
Sure.
and he gets in there and helps sport as well.
Well, it's really funny in a way though, especially I think it's probably a male bonding thing too. You get caught up in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably what that is too. At the same time, I mean, your home is your England is literally being attacked. That's your boat.
Yes.
Plus,
so-
you can't let a 12-year-old
So they,
that the captain has
No.
security for
yeah,
just go in there by himself.
That's
That's-
very much a
Back.
man thing.
I love the fact though when the kid goes in and he commands and he shoots somebody with one hand and it's just like ah! It's and the way he shouts at him too. I was like, that is so cool.
Are you talking about the one kid?
Yeah, the
crush
one
on?
kid, the one, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, one arm kid.
yeah.
Oh no, I thought you were
his
talking
name
about
is Chad. We all
I thought you
know
were
that.
talking about the other
Yeah.
kid.
He's
Chad.
boss. That's
Mhm.
But it's nice the relationship that the doctor, the kid, and the captain share.
Mhm.
yes.
It's independence, but very much interlinked.
Yeah.
They depend on it's like they depend on each other, but they're forging their own path in a way.
Yeah.
I love how it shows the other captain's quarters, and he's
And he
a
has music as
musician
well.
too,
Yep.
but it's like a horn. It's like, oh, I bet that
Well,
was annoying.
it kind of shows that they're similar, but they're
Yeah.
enemies.
Yeah.
That war is not war is not, good
Ah,
it's not always
yeah.
good versus evil. It's far more nuanced than people realize.
Balance of terror in Star Trek.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Dun, dun,
Same
dun,
same
dun,
thing. The Romulan captain and Captain Kirk did
Shield
not
wall.
hate each other.
Yeah.
No.
That's what's on the music sheet, by the way.
And we get a Lucky Jack being Lucky Jack here, where he almost gets stabbed, but he misses him.
And this guy is the
Ah.
counterpart to the other guy that's on his ship
Yeah.
that like takes care of the captain.
I love this too. He's like, I'm gonna go back under the table now.
I miscalculated horribly. Would you like a croissant?
And he has like a little like chef's tunic on. He's
Yeah.
making ratatouille or something.
Jack did get a stab in there though.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's just but a flesh wound.
I don't know. Did he, or was that just blood from the fight? I
No,
couldn't
he
tell.
got cut a little bit. It kind of went
Okay.
across the side there.
Okay.
I mean, it was no Sabine Wren lightsaber. But in that case, he would have been totally fine anyway.
Yeah.
Definitely. You just
No
walk
big
away
deal.
from that
No
very
big deal.
easily.
And it's the first time you see their captain. You don't see him until he's dead.
You don't know it's him yet, though.
No, you don't realize it yet.
The captain, before he died, told me to give you this.
He told me to tell you I fart in your
So,
general
JJ.
direction.
You smell of elderberries and old wine.
Your
mother
father
was a hamster.
Your mother was a hamster, and your father smelled of elderberries.
He's like,
I don't think I
everyone
can handle
flee!
that
The
kind of
French
insult."
taunting is too much.
Run away!
Run away! Doesn't look like a captain. Looks like a
And this poor guy.
lesser person.
Saddest part of the movie is
Yep.
their eulogy for him. I think that got me. That really got me.
Yeah, and this
Yep.
part too.
Get ready
Yeah.
to bury him at sea. Oh yeah, that guy didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
That was the
remember-
that was the guy that was in America that gave the ship.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that was the guy that was in America went overboard. He was the guy that
Yeah.
went overboard.
This guy here. Yeah.
And here's the other guy.
Remember, space was a big deal back then, and you had no way to keep the bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
would
Like,
Yeah.
you couldn't bring them home.
Yep.
Sadly.
Oh yeah, and this guy.
Who's that fella?
Man, he's fat as F.
Yeah,
I think they could have eaten him. They could have eaten off that thing for like
He
a
was
week.
eating good in the captain's mess.
The Roman Ritas
Pork
are
choppins.
affecting Roman right now.
And is that his second in command?
No, this is
They
just
did
one of
it.
the midshipmen. No, the
Just
second in
okay.
command.
He had just gotten promoted too.
Yeah, he got promoted
Okay,
to
I
lieutenant.
apologize.
right,
they
right.
all look. Oh, it's from midshipman.
Right.
Yeah.
The second in command, he gets to take the Acheron. To
Yeah,
deliver
he
it.
makes him a captain at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, he gets his first. That's going to be his first command.
Mhm.
That guy's totally ready.
Yeah.
I like this too. He's trying to sow the.
And he says, "I'll
So
do
bad,
it,"
he's
and then
like,
he starts, and he's
"Could you
like,
help
"Can
me?"
you help me?" Yeah.
Yeah, because he only got one arm.
Yes.
Ugh,
Can you
it's
help me?
heartbreaking. On this,
the
and
acting, the acting,
it's just
the acting.
fantastic acting.
So it was this guy that died. That's the one that Max had the crush on, right? In the movie.
Yes, when I was in high school, when I saw it. Stop it, Shieldwall.
I just want to make sure I had it straight. Okay, so this guy next to him, he's going to be the new captain of the
Yeah.
other ship.
You know what I like? You know what I like about how they did the makeup and of course the costuming for all these characters. I love the fact that you can tell it's not even just the aged look, but also like scarring and everything that they received that tells that they've been battle worn and everything and experienced.
He had a small part in Dunkirk, by the way.
He's missing an earlobe.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, that was from the beginning of the movie. Remember when he got hit?
Yeah.
During the when the Acheron surprised them. I think was that? Yeah.
That's why they call him Lucky Jack.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, his first lieutenant there, he later appeared in Dunkirk.
That's
and
also
Oppenheimer.
a very good movie.
And he's an Oppenheimer.
I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet.
Oppenheimer's really good.
I know. I want to see Oppenheimer. I never get out of. This is my world. I never get out of my cabin. So,
I get you.
those are the gentlemen there with the striped pants. Those are the deck seamen. Okay. Billy Boyd is a deck seaman.
Yeah, just how seamlessly
JT Gunn, straight up F off. I love you and I hate you.
Hey, JT.
Yeah, they managed to seamlessly go from the most triumphant moment to the saddest moment where he's eulogizing the kid. It's
but
like,
they do a brilliant job with it.
They do. It's excellent. It's excellent.
And then some questions arise.
How he's talking to him, he's like, this guy will be good at this job and you'll be good at your job too. And it's like, oh, yay.
Yeah, and the assistant doctor has to go with him too. Or
yep.
The useless doctor.
Yeah.
He's not much of a doctor, but he makes a fine cocktail. Oh, and the prisoners.
And he's like, he looks so uncomfortable too.
No, and that's the way because it's his. Now it really is his first command. Horatio Hornblower does a nice job of this as well. It's different when you have someone to hold the net for you. Mm-hmm. Once you're out there on your own, it's terrifying.
This too, they're like, oh, I met the doctor. He gave me the captain's sword.
He said, no, the doctor died months ago. And he's like, what?
Dun, 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 dun.
I do love this medley, this song that they play, or of course the soundtrack goes on. It's so lively, and then of course when they realize that they have to go. They have to go.
The Irish music, yeah.
They have to go and actually chase the Acheron again.
And what he says here too, the bird is flightless, right? It's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere.
And we all know, well.
Yeah, that's such a good movie.
It's phenomenal.
And
it was supposed to be a series.
As everybody's getting ready.
It was supposed to be a series?
Yeah, this was supposed to be the first of, I think, 3 or 4 movies.
Yeah, there's a bunch of books. Yeah.
Oh, it hurts my heart that they didn't make more.
Yeah, it didn't. It unfortunately it did not make enough for them to
that's
go forward with making another.
Timing.
Yeah, just got buried beneath a lot of other great movies, but yeah.
Can you imagine?
But
okay,
so brilliant.
So if they, of course they couldn't, but just hypothetically, go with me. If they made this movie today, this movie would easily, for me, would make maybe $1.5 billion to $2 billion.
Oh gosh, if I mean something of this quality, this would be, it would probably have a run akin to Top Gun. It I mean, but this
But
is
the
a
lack
better,
of
and this is a
diversity,
better
my friends,
movie.
the lack
There
of
is-
diversity.
Roman, I said,
Well, the lack
I
of
said
diversity is why
hypothetically.
they wouldn't make it,
There's
but it would
okay.
be successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could fit like diverse like black actors somewhere in there, and it might maybe make sense, but they would be forced to put a woman on there somehow, and
Oh,
it
God.
would just
They could
ruin
tie her
it.
to the front of the ship. That's fine.
The only way they could do it is if it was a dual story where she was like back on land doing stuff and it would like cut back and forth. Maybe they could make that work because there might be something in
They
the
could
books.
cast Brie Larson as the captain of the French vessel.
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
she does.
Um,
I think she does like French wine.
but you know what I mean? Like it could work if they did like a dual track story. Because I haven't read the book, so maybe there's a portion in the books
neither
where
have
They're being
that-
chased by the HMS Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh,
No, but you know what I mean? Like they could do like a dual track story where they're on the ship and then they're back home in England and she's dealing
Yeah.
with stuff and whatever, or something, and they could maybe make something like that work. But
But no, in Mag's scenario,
Man.
if they made this specific movie, just said,
Hypothetically,
to,
without all the
to hell with
terrible
all the wokeness, we're gonna make this movie. Everyone would go see this. It'd be like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
what is
It's a
this? This is
terribly-
unbelievable.
just underrated film. I mean, a lot of people haven't seen this, which is horrifying and terrible.
yeah.
But this movie speaks on so many different levels.
Here's the thing:
you're-
despite the fact that it did get buried under all these other movies, and that it,
Yeah.
obviously
these
lost money, it
Right.
still did make 211 million, which, given the amount of quality content out there at the time, that's not a bad number. It's just the budget makes it a bad number.
Right.
And not only that, but it's surrounded by other quality movies. So it's hard to really knock this film because there's well, Return of the King, and then there's other films out there that came out, and it's just like exactly
Yeah.
it's kind of this.
And quite honestly,
The-
you could take all the other movies out of the equation, Mags. Return of the King knocks everything else out of the park.
Well, in Return
Exactly.
of
It
the King,
doesn't matter what
a
your
lot of
movie
people
was.
forget Return of the King when it came out. That became the second highest grossing movie of all time behind Titanic. It was the second movie to cross $1 billion. So it swallowed up everything else.
It
that
wasn't
happened.
a small deal.
No.
I mean, like I said, timing. It's just timing. As soon
granted,
as
this
these
movie,
guys realize Return of
gave
the
this
King was
movie a
coming
month
out, they
before
should have
that,
held
but-
off. They should have waited.
Yeah.
You know what? They could have.
Definitely.
They could have
They should-
waited until next year.
No.
Hold it for 6 months.
I
And
would
they
say
would've been like,
2004. Yeah.
"Oh, I'm so
Guys,
mad.
if
I'm
you had
holding the
gone
movie."
summer,
Yeah,
but
if you had
you
gone summer
waited-
2004, would have been just fine.
blockbuster,
Yeah.
blockbuster,
this is
and you win the
from
Oscar for all the stuff you
trivia.
should have won the Oscar for.
This is from the trivia. It says this film was intended to be a first entry in a franchise.
Yep.
However,
Yeah.
due to low box office numbers, no sequels were ever made.
And I can see that. I mean, I can. Like I said, you see so many of the great relationships in this movie. It's and I can't help but to compare it to Star Trek because, and I know that's seems overdone, but it's kind of the thing because that's where Star Trek got its roots was in
Sea exploration.
Horatio Hornblower, which is very much akin to this.
Yeah.
So when you see these great relationships between captain, doctor, other crew members, the captain being the captain, you understand why there should be a desire to see this on a multi-film scale, and there should have been.
Yeah.
But because of timing, I think you blew it.
And
It's
if you look at
unfortunate.
what was nominated the following year, if it had waited, 6 more months, granted, there were good movies, there were really good movies in 2005, but like the best picture nominees, for example, were like Sideways, Finding Neverland, Ray, The Aviator, $1 Million Baby. This is better than all of those.
No,
it would
it's
easily
way
out.
better than all
It would
those.
outgross all of those pretty easily. It
Yeah,
would
'cause
be.
I wouldn't have gone to
enormous
see any
film.
of those other films, but I would have gone to
I
see this
didn't go to see those other films.
I mean,
I've
I've seen
even
the
remember
majority
any
of
of those
them.
movis.
I mean,
That's a garbage year.
I've seen several of those movies. I think $1 Million Baby is a really, really good movie. There are really good films from that year, but
It's
like,
fine. It's
but
not.
it's nothing
not really
like-
an apples to apples comparison.
no. I mean,
No,
granted, there were big. I mean, Shrek 2 was out that year. That was a big deal. Spider-Man 2 was a big deal that year. Passion of the Christ came out year. That's a big deal. Harry Potter, The Prisoner of Azkaban. But this movie could have very easily,
Yeah, this would have dominated.
if released around those, not with them, would have been just fine.
Pity.
So
Pity.
I wanted to kind of go over the different aspects of this and get y'all's, your thoughts on it. So the story, the plot. What did y'all think of the plot?
I love it.
Classic.
It's simple but deeply layered, and I think often that kind of makes for the best kinds of stories.
Right. It's easy enough to understand. Hey, there's a ship.
Bad guy.
There's another ship.
Yeah, that's it.
And
Foes.
that's it. Yep. Yeah. There's no, no social aspects that need to be overcome, or the climate's not collapsing.
It's almost like it's a simple, also human interest story, because it shows the different levels of relationships between captain and his crew and his midshipman and his doctor and all this other stuff. But it's not in the feelings and hallways kind of way. It's more like how real people are in real life and how it all follows through, and how they all have important roles to play and need to get the job done to go and hunt down the Acheron, the prize. So it's a great movie. It's like Gourd King says, it's a simple plot, but it's also brilliant in that it has multiple layers like an onion. If you peel one layer back, there's another layer underneath, and it's visually 100%. Beautiful because it's all feels very immersed gorgeous. And real, but also you can understand the story and what people think and what their motivations are.
Yep, and that soundtrack behind that, Mags.
Yes,
right.
Yes,
and so you can have scenes with two people in a room having conversations that doesn't devolve into a CW coffee shop scene.
Exactly.
And the fact that they pull this off with where the villain is just an entity. It's not even really a villain. It's just the conflict is an entity that you don't know its personality beyond the threat it poses. That's exceptional.
It doesn't matter.
Pull that off.
It just doesn't matter.
Exceptional.
Well, right, and the antagonist is not some kind of evil. They're not evil. They're not overly cruel or anything. They're just
you don't know anything about them other than they are French. They are the French, and you're the English, and you're at war.
It's duty versus duty.
That's all you need to know.
Right. I guess in some people's case, the fact that they're French might be just enough.
You do not like my frog legs? I spit in your general direction. No. But it's also the enemy is very much anonymous.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They are the French, but you don't really get to know them. You don't really care, and that's the nice thing about it is you don't care. All you know is they are the bad guy pursuing the heroes that you are getting to know, and that's enough. And that's good filmmaking. You don't need to go into the depths of everything. Way down here as to the motivations of why the cook on the French side does not like to have his green beans fried instead of sauteed. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is that they are opposing sides. You're following this side. If you've been following the French side, it probably would have been an equally compelling story.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's the side you're following, knowing that there is a bad guy in pursuit or who you're pursuing. And that's all that matters.
The other thing is that no character in the movie is the chosen one or perfect at what they do. And none of them are being held back by somebody else. No one's stealing their ideas or holding them down.
And they all rely on each other too.
Right. Yes.
They can't get the job
except
done.
Except for Mr. I sunk into the depths of the ocean. That guy had some problems.
Yeah. But I mean, you have heroes that are complex characters that are highly imperfect and yet very well suited to their stations, except for the one who ultimately.
But also that character, right? In a lot of organizations, there's always that guy.
Mm-hmm.
There is that guy,
and then you have to. So people identify with that character because they've seen that character or they've been that character.
Yeah.
And
or you have to discipline that character.
Right. Yes. Exactly. Yes. You've had to deal with somebody like that, where you have to tell them the hard truth that, hey, man,
Yep.
you're not cut out for this. And if you keep going and, things aren't going to end well for you.
It's going to be a problem.
Right.
Yeah. And
But you want to do it in a way that you're not just like, you're a piece of crap. And you know what I mean? You're just like, hey, this is just not.
I've had hard conversations. Usually it's with junior officers who have overstepped bounds and have caused problems for the mission because they had their wee stepped on, unfortunately, and now they're very upset about it. It's like, well, here's the deal. If you hadn't done this, you wouldn't be in this spot. So why don't you look at what you did, figure out how you got here, and figure out where you need to go so the guys don't hate you and we can get on with the job.
Right. Yeah.
And you don't have to sink to the bottom of the sea with a cannonball.
Right. Yep. It's tough having that conversation, especially when you tell somebody, hey, you can't stay. You got to go. You know what I mean? That's a rough one because they're not bad people. They're just not cut out for what they're doing.
And the interesting thing about where his character ends up is they tell the story. Well, yeah, ultimately, the way the story is told, he's put up against a wall basically because it's like your only way out is the way he took. So it's like you've either got to man up and be what you have to be, or you do what he ultimately did, and it's just like
adios.
Yes, it's like he self-deletes, and it's just like it's like you're sad for him, but at the same time you're like it kind of makes sense. It was not unjustified as a piece of storytelling.
And that shot they did where he's looking up, but yet he sinks and recedes into the darkness. Yeah. Yep.
Admonish.
I hate to say this, but he must have been a rock because rocks look down.
Oh gosh.
Oh gosh, don't start that. Roman is going to lose his mind.
My video is so close. I have had to listen to that line 1,000 times in the last month. It's
don't
so
hold
bad.
Your breath, Roman. Don't
Roman's about ready to explode.
Oh,
I'm not sure if I can endure another season of that. I mean, it's like going to Olive Garden for dinner.
That's not funny either. That wasn't meant to make me feel good.
Why is the
no, but it's an apt comparison. What would you rather do? Watch next Rings of Power or go to Olive Garden?
I think Olive Garden.
Olive Garden easy.
Cannonball, bottom of the sea.
Yeah. I would say this. I think Olive Garden tastes better than Rings of Power, and I'm just gonna say that.
Oh yeah.
No, I will agree, and I hate Olive Garden. So, but
Roman,
at least you get unlimited
I hate
salad,
more than
right?
Olive Garden.
Roman, you hate everything though.
That's not true. I am not the Ryan Kinnell of our sphere of things. And I love Ryan Kinnell, by the way. I love and hate things. Usually, if I'm doing a series, the series is not good. If I'm doing a movie, it's a movie I love. So there's a balance act in the sphere of the empire. So it's there. But I do hate Olive Garden. I can't deny that. It's terrible. That is, if you're eating that and you're one of my people, you should grab a cannonball and dive into the sea. So,
unfortunately, Gadfly fiction. I don't think that this is stated or uttered anywhere in the Amazon show, Wheel of Prime.
Oh.
Nope. Replace that word with woman or something else, and maybe, but.
Whatever rules Wheel of Time has about being a man, Amazon breaks all of them intentionally.
Yes.
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 Well, guys, we're coming up on 3 hours.
Yeah.
I know. I'm sorry, Jacob. This may have been like a record breaker for you.
Well, this movie is one that you can talk.
There was
about.
a lot.
Yeah,
there was a lot.
Be,
this was a deep movie. It's 2 hours and 18 minutes, and there's just so much to talk about. So, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I will say this: if you have not seen this movie and you're watching this stream at whatever point,
watch the movie.
Go out and watch it now.
What's wrong with you? If you haven't seen this movie, what's wrong with you?
Grab a cannonball, or turn on the movie.
So
this movie,
yeah,
this movie and Horatio Hornblower, the AMC series, and BBC crossover that they both worked on it. Go watch that as well. It's now Horatio Hornblower is like 3 seasons and many episodes. But if you enjoyed this, you'll love that because you get a lot more of this in that. So
it's really good. It's right up there with the Sharps series. 2 different things, but they're good. Yeah.
Yep. So, what anybody have anything they want to plug or Shieldwall?
Well, this Thursday we're going to be talking season 5 of Ahsoka, and so we'll see how that goes. We'll see if
I know you meant episode 5, but the thought of there being 5 seasons of Ahsoka.
Oh no, Gourd King, no.
Yeah, I meant
Where's my cannonball?
5.
Where's my cannonball?
But,
Roman, you've always been nice to me.
But yeah, exactly. But
episode 4 probably turns into Lost in Space.
Yeah, there's
there's
a lot
it
wrong
wishes
with
it could be that good.
that series, but it's got a few bright spots in it, so I'm still with it. It hasn't jumped
it's
over.
Way better than
yet.
Most of their series.
Right, it's way better than Kenobi. But anyway, yeah. So that's what I got going on Thursday.
Okay.
Which is 5 Pacific.
That'd be 2 days from now, my friend.
Yes. Yeah.
To be fair, arm amputation is better than Kenobi.
Yes.
He's right. He's not wrong. Not wrong.
This show actually did something that Ahsoka didn't do and should have done. Amputation.
Yep.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. Yep.
So Roman, what do you got?
The same thing that he has, he has that. I'm so bad at this. So yeah, Thursday at 5 Pacific Standard, we are doing Ahsoka episode 5. And this is a big one. This one's in theaters right now, which is weird and makes me uncomfortable in my intestine region. Why are you doing that, Disney? What are you trying to do? So anyway, so we have that coming up. The reviews are way more fun than the episode. So save yourself from watching. Just watch the review. We have a good time with it, and you're going to know exactly what happened.
Right. Watching Untamed Mando lose her crap over the Mandalorian stuff. Yeah. That's entertaining all on its own.
She's in chat. ...
The ellipses say so much.
On the 26th, which I believe is the Tuesday. Yes, the Tuesday. Not next week, but the following week. I'm going to be on with Miss Martin Muses doing the pub crawl, which I'm looking forward to. I think that's going to be a lot of fun too.
You should be good at that.
I probably will. Oh, and October. Let me plug October a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm chatting too much. October is going to be Scary Movie Month on Of the Empire channel. So we're going to start with the movie called The Prophecy, which is a great Christopher Walken movie about fallen angels. So
he also has a watch, that he had.
So that's what we have coming up. Anyway, but
cool.
Jacob, thank you for having me back on the channel. I've been off for a little bit.
Definitely.
I love doing these things. And this was a perfect movie. So thank you for having me for this.
Yeah, definitely, man. Good to have you. Max, what do you got coming?
Well, as usual, I'm everywhere all at once sometimes. Yes. But this coming Thursday, so every other Thursday, but it's up on this Thursday, is on Inside All Day podcast, is Dames and Dorks podcast number 2, where we're going to be talking about the latest Ahsoka shows, the last 2 weeks, episodes, and One Piece, of course, and the Scarface reboot. So we're going to be talking about that.
Whoa.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I need you to backtrack briefly on this Scarface thing.
This is the first I'm hearing of it.
What?
There's supposed to be a Scarface reboot, I think, or some sort of reboot on that.
A reboot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait,
that's
they've
happening.
already rebooted Scarface once?
Yes.
Yeah, the original Scarface is a much older movie.
1920s older film.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm talking about the 80s one here.
And they've got Pedro Pascal attached to it.
Oh,
Yep, they
You shut your mouth, Gourd King.
no.
Shut your dirty
But-
Gourd mouth.
Don't shoot the messenger. I'm not joking. It's true.
It's going to be a female lead or something. I guarantee it.
Probably.
Katie
Or-
Sackhoff is going to be the real Scarface.
Oh,
Hey,
my
Katie,
God.
don't mess with Katie Sackhoff. She's
Brie
just been
Larson.
given crap.
I know. I like Katie. I like her.
I
but-
like her too. I'm just.
I think-
no.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so we're going to be talking about that and maybe some other topics if we have time to talk about it. It's at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern on this Thursday. So if Roman is done, you can check us out. It's an all female podcast. So we'll have Nadia, Lily, 300 Mirrors, Nami Without You, and Dr. Rachel Lindbergh and myself. So come check us out. And
Cool.
thank you, Jacob,
Great.
for having me back on. These types of discussion panels are always a real good escape from the real world crap that goes on, and just
Yeah.
discussing your favorite movie or favorite moments in movies or any good quality film. It's definitely a really it's like a escape all on its own. So yep.
Oh,
Thank
no,
you,
not
Jacob.
that.
It's a fine tonic.
Crow reboot. Why? Why?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's happening too. The
Gourd
ladies'
King.
room. Yes, Mando.
Gourd King, what do you got coming?
If all goes well this weekend, I should be releasing my review, my long review for episode 1 of Rings of Power. Yes, I'm getting into that series. It's awful. So that should be releasing this weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, depending on
Gourd
if I have to
King.
do any re-edits to get around copyright, whatever. And I have my daily gaming streams, which usually are Sunday through Wednesday. So I'll have one
Is
tomorrow.
there any
about 2
nudity
p.m.
in the gaming streams, Gourd King?
No.
That's a pity.
Just,
That's a
just
pity.
pumpkin.
I'm currently
Just
playing
pumpkin.
Armored Core, so the mechs are naked. So,
Fair enough.
There you go.
but that is, and then I'll probably do something much shorter after I'm done with the Rings of Power video. I'll go to episode 2 of Rings of Power a little bit later. I'm not gonna do them one after the next after the next. That's I really would
much?
take a
Too
cannonball
much?
down to the depths. if I had to.
Exactly. That's what I'm
Yeah,
going to say.
well.
We're going to coin a new
Yeah, I know how you
phrase
feel.
Yep.
from tonight's show. Whenever something like Wheel of Prime comes on, it's called "Get the Cannonball."
Yep.
I'm not going to be
Get the
covering
cannonball and jump off now.
Yeah, there's
I'm
no
not
way
gonna
I
be
could
doing
do all
Loki.
8 episodes of Rings of Power back to back to
Yeah.
back to back
Oh,
in video form.
God,
I have
no.
spent so much time with this episode,
No.
and it's the. I'm not gonna say it. That's a joke for the video. I don't want to give that one away. So, but yeah, it's awful.
Yes.
But the video, I think,
Hug
will be
that
good.
cannonball.
Too much.
Hug
the
that
cannonball.
cannonball.
Yeah.
Give it a big old hug. Okay. Well, so I have Thursday. I'm going to be on Roman's show 2 also. And Saturday, I'm going to be talking about Alfred Hitchcock. Still need some people for that show. So there's plenty of room on that show if anybody wants to. Anybody
The
in
show's
chat
just going to
or
be about Hitchcock or about
anybody
one of his
wants to-
movies.
just Hitchcock. Going to be talking about Hitchcock. and all
Interesting.
his-
Dun, 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 dun,
His
dun,
movie.
dun, dun.
Unfortunately, I won't be available for that. So sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
Otherwise,
already in trouble right now.
What
so
day
I
did you say that
apologize.
is? What day did you say it was?
That's Saturday.
That's
Oh, well, no,
Saturday,
those are work days for me.
the 16th.
Yeah, Saturday's a work day for me, so I work on weekends.
That's okay. And
I don't work at all.
Actually, Friday, I'm going to be on Potato Raven's channel on his true crime show, and it's going to be on the Oklahoma City bombing.
Oh,
wow.
wow.
That'll-
That's
I
some
was
heavy
going to
stuff.
say awesome,
Oh.
but I meant that you're going to be on the show.
Yeah. Yeah, don't get me going down the rabbit hole, Jacob.
And then
Oi,
next week-
McVeigh.
Oh, no. And then next week, Tuesday next week, I'm going to be talking about In the Heat of the Night. An old.
Nice.
Oh, good. Yeah.
What's his name? Sidney
Sidney
Poitier.
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 So, yeah, it'll be a good one. And that's all I got. And thank y'all for coming on. having a good time.
Thank you for
talking
having
about
me.
This great
Right
movie.
on. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Yes,
thanks
thank
to
you,
the-
Jacob.
This was like an eight drink show. This was great.
Yeah, Roman got his double ration of grog.
I did.
Yeah.
I got so much grog.
Now,
It was
now you got to
great.
get yourself out of the doghouse.
I know, but now I have to go watch Ahsoka, which I am
Oh,
like,
no.
no, from a entertainment high to an entertainment low, or maybe it'll be fine. Maybe it will be. I don't know.
I'm doing
I
it
kind of
tomorrow.
know.
I can't.
No, I
can't
got
do
to
it
do it
tonight.
tonight. It's already on my calendar. I have to do it tonight. I'm OCD. I have to do my watch tonight and my editing tonight, which will be awesome. Roman, why do you have a bunch of blurry stills for this show? I don't know. It's Jacob's fault. Here's the cannonball.
Yeah.
He'd be like blurry. It's like, what do you? It's like, I have 2 of each. What are you talking about?
One of these is good. It's fine. Click.
And thanks to the chat for hanging out with us. And
Yeah. So we got some good. We got some heavy hitters with us tonight. That was good.
Yeah, and a lot of
Good
good,
stuff.
information from everybody. So
Yeah.
it's always good to have them on here.
And just one more time, a movie that we want.
I need this.
Why
Hey,
does he
guys.
keep looking
Yeah.
at me through that little glass?
No squid guy in the movie.
Y'all have a good week, guys.
All right. Yep.
I'll talk to
Good night,
later.
y'all.
Later,
Bye.
everybody.
Come on, stream. Time to end.
I was doing so well with my still there. I